This week in PlayStation, we've been playing games. We're going back to 1994, and we're picking the best indie game ever on PlayStation. We'll have all this and more because this is PS I Love You XOXO. Welcome to the show, everybody. That's Blessing, that's Jen, and I'm Greg, and you can get this show on patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames. There you can watch us record it live, get it ad-free, and get the weekly post show. If you have no bucks to toss our way, support us on the Epic Game Store, Fortnite, Rocket League, and more with the creator code KindaFunny. You can get PS I Love You XOXO free with ads and without the post show on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames, roosterteeth.com, and podcast services around the globe each and every week. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Fargo Brady, Delaney Twinning, James Hastings, Casey Andrew. Today it's Delaney Twining. Again, this is still something.
I got you.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
well, you say Delaney Twinning, Blessing.
He pays us all this money and you can't remember his last name.
You know what? I'm the $1 million man over here. I don't care. I'm just laughing in your face, Delaney Twining. I appreciate it. But again, ladies and gentlemen, so many people, they see, and Janet, you can attest to this. They see the historic, the incomparable, the Mount Rushmore of the video game industry, Greg Miller character. And they see him, throwing out jabs and barbs and doing this thing. And so when they see me say their name wrong, they sit there and they go, "Oh, great master, it's okay. We accept that." And you don't have to when you're paying the money on Patreon to get your name right. You're allowed to say, like Delaney Twining did finally, after years of us saying his name wrong, told us it the right way. The people who watch for free, y'all can get fucked. That's on you. I don't care about you. Today, we're brought to you by, of course, Chime and MeUndies, but we'll start with a PSN message from you. Janet, how much do you miss my house? You were here over the weekend for a brunch. How much do you miss hanging out with us?
I miss Ben a lot. Probably that it started to fade, but like Ben won me over by it was my first time actually meeting Ben because I've been in the house when Ben was in the house, but I didn't dab him up or anything because he was asleep.
Sure, fair enough.
Yeah, Ben's awesome. 10 out of 10. Big fan of Ben.
Yeah.
It's funny because I took a few video clips like just during my trip to put into a video just for like me and my family. Like it's not like a public content-y thing. I just wanted like a video of our trip. So I did have a clip from your house that I took briefly, and my brother's like, do they have such a big table for 2 people and a baby?
It's very Batman
1989.
The house is very 1989 Batman.
I did tell my dad, I'm like, hey, I went to like my boss. I still don't know if I guess you're my boss, right? I went to my boss's house. He has all these pears. Please go eat these pears, please. I did eat one of the lemons yesterday, though. So we're working our way through. We're working our way through.
It was a good lemon, right?
Yeah, it was a great lemon. I put it into like another drink, so I feel like it didn't have its time to shine alone, but
sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it made the drink good, then you can talk to how good the lemon is.
Yeah, I have a sore throat, which hopefully is just a sore throat that I've had for a couple of days. It stayed flat, so I think it's just a sore throat.
Okay.
But I drank. I've been drinking hitting the hot toddies again because of it. So
what a way to live.
So I'm using the lemon. That's where the lemon's coming into play. So. And I slept great last night too. Isaiah's like, "You were knocked out." I'm like, "It's because I had those hot toddies."
Dude, hot toddies will knock you out. That's the one reason why I do like him. Is like I drink a hot toddy and I'm knocked out at 8 p.m. That's like
but I was hitting the hot toddies. I was watching the fires and Firewatch. Like I was prepping for the show. I was doing that work.
I appreciate it. Of course, big episode, ladies and gentlemen. We are crowning PlayStation's best indie darling. But before that, we do, of course, have a PSN message. This time, it's not from you, ladies and gentlemen. It's from the April 1995 issue of the one and only Electronic Gaming Monthly. That's number 69, of course. It's not a joke, because I don't know why that happened. But of course, I subscribe to that classic video game magazine subscription, where they send you a classic video one from the Video Game Museum.
History Foundation.
Thank you very much. That I put on the map, and then when they got overloaded with orders, they credited Kotaku, who wrote a story about me tweeting about it. So thanks for nothing. But I still get EGMs from them, and that's pretty great. However, ladies and gentlemen, I thought this was an interesting one as I was paging through it. The cover got ripped off by Ben, by the way. It was a cool Mortal Kombat cover. It got ripped off. But I
love that cover, or the non-cover. I guess the new cover with the Game Boys.
You love the old Game Boy ad?
Yeah, that's fucking
Dude,
awesome.
like, not only do I love reading the magazine I get every month from the video games. What is it, Janet? You gotta finish it.
History Foundation.
Video History Foundation. I like it every month because of it. It's cool to read old reviews and get it. I'm always hopeful for an EGM. A lot of times I open up, it's a Nintendo Power. That goes in the bin to go to Tim. You know, that's a Tim thing. He gets very excited for those. And I like reading, obviously, what people thought of video games at the time and how wrong they were about rumors and things like that. But then the ads, dude. The ads are on another level. Because people are fucking insane on trying to sell video games. It was insane. I love it so much. Because even just look at the fucking Punisher one on the back. Like, that's just fucking... You don't see that kind of shit anymore, right?
That's
Evil
awesome.
can run, but it can't hide.
Now, what year was this again?
This is
95.
Yeah, 95. This is
95.
April 95, so this would have been the March 1995 when this one came out. But the PSN message we're going to read is a cover story. It was on the cover before, but there he goes. Like, are you ready for the PlayStation 2? Now, remember what I just talked about? 95, everybody, all right? They're talking about 95 here in the United States, all right? This is the one, the only Steve Harris for EGM, who says, are you ready for the PlayStation 2? Before the PSX even hits, EGM learns there is another. Never has the hype surrounding the launch of a new game system been as red hot as the buzz for Sony's impending premiere of the PlayStation Mega Machine. Boasting a 32-bit RISC processor, special polygon engine, and the ability to display millions of graphic characters in over 16 million colors have left developers so eager to dig into the system, they'll be hard-pressed to push the limits. Using a CD-ROM storage medium, the PlayStation is a dream machine for publishers who will no longer have to worry about huge cartridge inventories or the guesswork associated with estimating how many copies of a particular product will sell. CD-ROMs can be produced in days to whatever order numbers your local retailers place at a fraction of what Nintendo and Sega charge for cart production. Recently, however, Sony Computer Entertainment, the company responsible for the launch of the PlayStation around the world, held a meeting that tipped Sony's cards just a bit and gave the gaming industry its first glimpse of Sony's long-term battle plans. While this meeting was ostensibly held to get current and potential PlayStation developers together to learn some ins and outs of the new system, there was hard information about Sony's future blueprints for the PlayStation brand name. In addition to sounding quite confident that there would be no problem getting the PlayStation into hands of retailers by the proposed September launch date, Sony Europe presenter Ian Hetherington took a few jabs at one of PlayStation's most outspoken critics, Trip Hawkins. Quote, people look at us as a consumer electronics company, explained Harrington. And some use that Sony doesn't know how to argument. Unfortunately for Trip, I think we do. Hetherington went on to say that he feels 3DO's attempts to obtain a portion of the video game market have come and gone. The most stunning news from this introduction, however, was the announcement by Sony that they intend to release a new PlayStation hardware unit in 1997 to upgrade the architecture being introduced this year in PlayStation 1. Dubbed the PlayStation 2, this system appears to be poised to introduce a real link between the typical gamer platforms and a true interface with the information superhighway. How the system will accomplish this task, whether or not it will be downwardly compatible with PlayStation 1 games, as well as additional enhancements over Sony's first deck, were not discussed. And Sony officials contacted by EGM offered no relevant details. Blessing? If that's not enough, he didn't say blessing in this. I added that to you, Blessing. If that's not enough, Sony also announced they plan to unveil a PlayStation 3 in the year 2003, and it will be designed to take them to the year 2011. While one can speculate that a PlayStation 4 would subsequently be forthcoming, Sony's confidence, parentheses, an 8-year user life cycle would set a new record for video games and most other electronic goods, has to be admired.
I'm impressed. For what video games?
Sony calling their fucking shot like this?
Yeah,
hey, we're gonna talk to you. We haven't even launched this fucking thing in America yet. We're gonna talk to you about where we're going with the PlayStation 3 by 2011.
They got those dates kind of off, but the fact that they're like, oh yeah, the PlayStation 3 will wrap by 2011, that even is closer than I would have expected for them to get that factoid, because the PlayStation 4 came out in 2013, so that's only 2 years off. The fact that they're talking about the information superhighway in regards to the PS2, like this is fairly prophetic. Like they did a really good job calling their shot here. This is really impressive.
It's so weird to look back at. And again, especially remember, this is as Steve wrote at the beginning of the article, Steve Harris at EGM, like this is before technically it was out in the United States that they were out here saying all this shit, that they're talking about all this shit. And they're talking about, the PlayStation 2 and bridging it. And like, 97 didn't exactly come together for them, right? For PlayStation 2, of
No.
course, October 26 to 2000 for the PlayStation 2 in America. I was trying to, when I was reading it, I was like, well, maybe they were talking about the PS1, the redesign, and I was like, no, that doesn't check either.
That's what I
as well.
assumed too. Yeah, when you got there, I was like, oh, they're just talking about the redesign of the PS1. But then as they continue, it's like, oh no, they're definitely talking about the PS2, which puts 1997 in an interesting place because like even we had multiple iterations of consoles by then, right? Like we had seen a jump from NES to SNES to N64. They should know that a console generation is going to last more than 2 years, but maybe they thought that it was going to be so rapid, the development and how important the internet and like power and all this stuff was going to be for their games that they're like, no, we're gonna have to update this thing in a couple of years. It's also wild to think like, imagine us publishing, I guess, an episode like 2 years ago about the PlayStation 6. Like that's essentially what this article is, right? It's talking about 2 consoles ahead.
Yeah. And for an industry so guarded in our secrets now, right? I remember too when we were leading up to PlayStation 4 and what were they going to call it? Were they really going to call it the PlayStation 4? Were they going to get away from that? Were they going to change the naming cycle of it? And then for this article from 1995, be like, oh yeah, you assume it comes to a PlayStation 4. You're like, we were dumb to ever think.
But then when you see the logo, it just hits different. Also, wasn't this, just to reread that line, they said they were going to unveil the PS3 in 2003, but that it would take them to the year 2011. Don't they mean like we're going to drop hardware in 03 that is so advanced that it is of the year 2011? Like that's what they meant by that.
I thought they meant
really
to
drop. Go ahead, Janet.
I was saying that they weren't saying they were going to drop the PlayStation 3 in 2011. They said they planned to unveil a PS3 in 2003 that would take them to the year 2011.
See, I read that as like the lifespan. The lifespan of the PS3 is going to be from 03 to 2011.
Oh,
and that's what Steve Harris says too. He follows up an 8-year user life cycle would be a new record. So yeah, he is saying that it would go the whole way.
Which honestly, 8-year user life cycle, that's about right? Like what the PS3 came out 2006.
That's correct.
And then the PS4 came out 2013. So that's almost 7. That's 7 years.
Yeah, that's right there, right? And that was such a big thing. Yeah, PlayStation been calling their shots. It sucks they didn't talk about PlayStation 6. Because we would know then. If this article mentioned PlayStation 6, we would know PlayStation 6 is coming.
I would love for them to be like, yeah, and PlayStation 6 is going to come with, and they just start naming features. And
we've also been thinking about handhelds. Let's talk about the PSP.
I also feel like you'd never get a story like this today.
No.
A manufacturer would never be like, oh, here's our next. Like, you're lucky to get any of anything with any plan at some point. I guess in the modern era, this would be a PlayStation blog innocuously dropped on like a Wednesday afternoon.
That it would, Janet. That it would. No, you say that, and it was what? Yesterday on Games Daily, I read a story. I'm scrolling through to find out which one. I'm not even the right stream. It was the Games Daily blessing where me and Sam were making fun of corporate speak versus independent speak.
Tuesday.
But who was the guy I want to make fun of?
It was a delay because there were 2 delays that happened in a row.
Right.
So it would have been the delay.
Right.
What 2 games got delayed?
It doesn't matter. Anyways, it's just the corporate speak and how they say nothing on an investor call. They just use word salad to get around everything. They give you no hard answers. They give you things are still in development. Oh, it was when they delayed Midnight Suns. So it was 2K. So it was Strauss-Zelnick. Strauss-Zelnick was just saying something but nothing at the same time, just a burn call. He gets asked a question on this investor call and he's just saying a bunch of goddamn gibberish to be like, yeah, the game is delayed. Why? Oh, don't worry about it. Games get delayed. It's fine. Everything's gonna be okay. We're gonna have a good time. Don't worry about it. And the games are good. Okay, bye. Like then you have like 1995 PlayStation's like, oh, thank you for asking that question about the PlayStation 1. Let me talk about the PlayStation 3 and work backwards. Let me tell you what's going to be happening in 2003 and how we think that's going to carry us to
drop PlayStation 4 real quick. That's like current PlayStation talking about PlayStation 8. It's like, no, they would never do such a thing. I think partly because we have the established life cycles now where you expect a console is going to last 7 to 8 years or something like that. And so like when you mention PlayStation 8, you're talking about decades from now, whereas for them they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna have the PS3 by 2003, which very much didn't happen. It felt like near future to them, I guess. In like, if you bring it to modern day standards, right, that's essentially like if PlayStation started talking about the PlayStation 5 Pro coming out in 2 years, which feels more feasible and more realistic. But even that is like, PlayStation wouldn't do that. They wouldn't even talk about the PlayStation 5 Pro now if it's planned for 2024 or whatever. They would wait until maybe 2024 to start talking about it. So it was very fascinating.
A fun time. A look back. Everybody go to the what, Janet?
The Video Game History Foundation.
And you can sign up there and get magazines delivered. It's like so the deal is they're trying to make an archive of every video game magazine. So when they get duplicates, they go into a pile, and then you can sign up and you pay. I think it's $20 a month, and they send you a random pull of one. And I've had a great time with it.
I don't know how I'll do it, but maybe this is like once we're finally back in the studio in 2025.
Sure.
I have EGM DVDs from I want to say 2002, 2003. Where it is just a bunch of trailers for PS2 games and probably Xbox and whatever, GameCube. It's just like a bunch of trailers for the years. And I haven't gone back and watched it in a long time. Maybe there probably could be like a PS Love You intro or something there, where like once we're in the studio, we put it on and like
that'd be dope,
all the games that were being promoted for the PS2 in like 03 or whatever.
Blessing, Janet.
Great.
It's fine. It's time for topic of the show. Blessing, what unholy hell are you about to unleash on us?
It is the unholy hell of the best ever PlayStation Indie Darling bracket. Now, people love our bracket. People it
rolls right off the tongue, Janet.
People love our bracket episodes, and people love
when they love to hate them. I think.
When we randomly seed the games, that's what they love the most. And I forget what spawned this. I think it was just a random conversation of us talking about indies and like what is the best indie darling, how that make a good bracket.
How are you defining indie darling? I have a million questions for you that I'm sure right now many people in their UPS trucks driving around have as well.
Yeah,
so start there.
Why am I the czar of this? I feel like
you built the bracket. You made this happen.
It was a team. Well, the audience built the bracket. If you remember, we put out a form.
What a great way to fucking throw it on them.
Blame early.
I'm just saying, this is most of these games are based off of their submissions. We made a Google form, put it on Patreon. The Patreon kids went in, they submitted their games, and the way it happened, there were about 30 indie games from that forum that stood out. That had more than one, or at least quite a few entries each. I pulled each of those games and came up with 30 and actually it probably came down to, I added a couple more, around 35 games from that forum that I pulled from the audience. I then needed to fill in the rest of the bracket because I wanted it to be 64 games. So from there, I reached out to you, Greg. I reached out to the one and only Barrett Courtney. I reached out to myself, and then Janet Garcia was on vacation, and so I went on her GG apps list to pull games. And we each submitted games that were missing from the 30 that we felt needed to be talked about on the bracket. And so like that's how I culminated the games. It was most of the audience. And so if you guys are mad about the games that are included on the list, be mad at yourselves. And if you're mad about the seating on the list, be mad at God and or Satan because it was randomly seated.
I appreciate that you stole my line there. I appreciate that quite a
Thank
bit.
you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, before we even get into it any further, I'm sure you're all like 64 games. It's going to be, we've done this before. Obviously, you've seen this happen. You know, it's a living hell to try to navigate in your own head. You could, if you want, on your own screen, go to kindafunny.com/PSIndies. That would bring up the Twitter post we put up that has just the blank bracket. So you have all 64 games there. You can see the different brackets. Of course, we have the circle division, cross division, triangle division, square division. You can keep up that way. That way you don't have to try to keep it all in your head, or you can just listen to the madness unfold as we go through. Now, the biggest thing, again, I will stress again, you had your chance, ladies and gentlemen, to go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames and submit your indies and for what you think should be there. So if your game isn't on here, guess who you got to blame? Your cheap fucking ass. All right.
Exactly.
It wasn't like, it's not like we're not asking for $30 to go in there and talk about a thing you love. Yeah. I'm Blessing at AOA Jr. from kindafunny.com.
Well, I think this is where you're driving towards, right? Well, I mean, what constitutes in indie darling for this bracket? Because we had back and forths about certain games that I threw in there where it was like, oh, does this count? Like, does this, does this work? One of the games that I had originally was Hellblade, and that led to a whole conversation of what are we viewing as indie? What are we viewing as indie for this list? What are we viewing as an indie darling? Because for me, Hellblade was kind of the line, because that is a game that even the studio describes as AAA, right? Like it's an indie game made by 20 people. It was published independently, right? This is before Hellblade. This is before Ninja Theory was bought.
Yeah, I think there's a couple games like that pop up here, by the way. If your game was published independently, if you were an independent studio when your game got published, great. If you got bought by Epic later on, a la Rocket League and Psyonix, we're still counting Rocket League.
And the way I thought about it after talking to you was that, all right, let's just focus on the most narrow definition of indie, because indie is a thing that you can expand out to mean so many different things. Like The Witcher 3 is indie because that was self-published by CD Projekt, right? Like at what point do you have that cutoff of no, we can't include Life is Strange and Hellblade and like certain games that kind of straddle the line of both budget and production, but then also being independently published and all that stuff. And so the way that I brought it to you was, I view it the way that like you describe porn, or like if somebody says define porn, it is you know it when you see it.
You
like,
specifically,
Yeah, I know, right now. I mean, technically, this is the Supreme Court's decision at the time.
I'm like, man, when I hang up this
for
Discord call, it just gets really crazy, I guess.
So the way I define indie darling is you know it when you see it.
Okay.
Same way the Supreme Court defines porn.
And that was before the Supreme Court got all wacky. So that's that. Again, it's randomly seeded. So we took all your picks, we took all of our picks, we put them in the hopper like bingo, and we rolled it. So I don't want to hear when people are like, "Oh, this should have been the championship. This should have been a Final Four." That's on God and/or Satan. We're not going to be held responsible for that, Janet.
Right. Okay, so two things. One, in the chat, MCap33 says, I can't wait for the AA mid-power bracket, and it took everything in me not to laugh at just the naming and the concept. Yeah, stay tuned. I'm sure that'll be next, maybe.
MCap33 is also the person in the chat who said, "Oh God, that Parasite Eve thing still gives me the sweats." From when we did where Parasite Eve ran that remake bracket that one time we won.
I mean, every single one of our brackets
can happen out here.
Every single one of our brackets have that like.
I remember listening to that. That's back when I was just an angry listener instead of an angry participant. Wow. But okay, so the last question I think is, how are we basing who advances? Is it just the better game, or is there like the indie vibes? Does that matter?
See, here's the thing. This is much like the Supreme Court. You've been elected for life on this. So when you get there, you are making your own calls. Your own judgment calls.
Well, what kind of calls are you making? Just so I know.
I will judge them on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, I'm leaning on just is it a good game?
Mainly, I think it's going to be what I think is the better game. I think I'm going to go with what's the better game.
Okay.
Yeah. And that will include games where I'm like, you didn't even play this, but I know that's a better game or whatever about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And for me, this is like slightly different from the PlayStation character bracket where we were judging the best PlayStation character. Because, and to some extent, it's like, well, this character means more to PlayStation than this other character. Whereas for me, I look at this, and I think there might be some of those cases here, but I think when you're comparing just game to game, the criteria for me becomes more about, all right, which game had better storytelling, which game had better gameplay, which game had better characters, which game looked better, which game has a better art style. Like, I think those are the more interesting criteria as opposed to like, oh, this game means a lot to PlayStation. I think there might be bonus points there. That might be extra credit. Shout out to Resogun for really being a PlayStation-ass indie. But does that put it above other games for me? We'll have to see.
We'll have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see. So before we dive in, ladies, actually, you know what? Here's what I want to do. I'm going to read through the entire bracket as we do. All right. And I'll tell you again for you audio listeners out there, where we're a circle, we're a cross, those are on top of each other. Then the other side of the bracket, triangle, square on top of each other. Then we have one question from Cozy Bear. Once we have all the games on the top of our mind. All right. Then we will go to work, ladies and gentlemen. And actually, Roger, remind me. After the question, we'll do an ad break because this is going to go fucking long. Anyways, here's how the breakdowns of the games go, okay? PlayStation's Best Indie Darling, presented by PS I Love You XOXO. In the circle bracket, we have The Forgotten City versus Dead Cells.
Fuck.
Stardew Valley versus Oxenfree. Return of the Obra Dinn versus Celeste. What Remains of Edith Finch versus Shovel Knight. Sound Shapes versus Moss. Toem versus Thimbleweed Park. Iconoclast versus Slay the Spire. Among Us versus Doki Doki Literature Club. That is the circle brackets, or circle division. Your cross division looks like this. Gone Home versus Firewatch. Fuck. Hyperlight Drifter versus Disco Elysium. Pyre versus Graceful Explosion Machine. Super Meat Boy versus Short Hike. Beat Saber versus Death's Door. Cuphead versus Hotline Miami. Kena, I always forget. Kena? What did it become? Kena Bridge of Spirits versus Sifu. Limbo versus Ollie Ollie World. Oh, man. Rest in peace, Ollie Ollie World. You tried on that one.
This is a brutal killing.
Telltale Walking Dead versus Hollow Knight. Nobody Saves the World versus Sayonara Wild Hearts. Rocket League versus Nidhogg. No Man's Sky versus Bugsnax. Fez versus Hades. Bastion versus Journey. Inside versus Outer Wilds. Fat Princess versus Guacamelee. Rogue Legacy versus I'm sorry, now we're into the square bracket. The
last one was the triangle.
I apologize. Yeah, the Fat Princess versus Guacamelee was the end of the triangle division. Square bracket looks like this. Rogue Legacy versus Overcooked. After Party versus Chicory, Fury versus Stray, Titan Souls versus Undertale, Fall Guys versus Little Nightmares 2, Resogun versus Costume Quest, Guacamelee 2 versus Severed, and then Super Hot versus The Witness.
Now,
goddamn,
this might be the toughest bracket to date. I think this is the one we're going to struggle with the most out of all the brackets we've done so far.
It's interesting because I feel like these first rounds are either easy, or just like, oh fuck. You know what I mean? Like that's going to be one discussion we're going to have to go through.
I had people also message be like, yo, where's this game? Where's that game? Where's Ori and the Blind Forest? First of all, that's your fault. Second of all, these are PlayStation games. This is a PlayStation podcast. So like, if you're asking where's Katana Zero, think about where that game exists on.
Sure, great call.
And think about how I almost put that on the list before I realized once again that was a PlayStation game, and I made that mistake before.
One day they're gonna port it.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this, Blessing. Of course, that's what you jumped on this. You made sure this bracket happened. You built the bracket. You did all the games, and I did absolutely no fact checking on it. So if any of it is wrong, it is completely on your shoulders.
That's on me.
I don't
I'll
want to
take it.
Thank you very much.
Is After Party on PlayStation? I don't honestly know.
It is.
Okay.
It is. I've started it several times and never advanced very far in it. I wonder how it'll fare in this vote off. Cozy Bear writes into patreon.com/kindafunnygames, just like you can. It says, before you determine the best PlayStation indie game, which indie game do you think is the biggest dark horse contender on the bracket? Janet, when you look at this, and I know I'm throwing it right to you here, is there anything that you look at and you're like, man, that could make a run? That's something you wouldn't normally think of, and that could make a run.
Ooh, that you wouldn't normally think of.
I mean, it's what a dark horse is, right?
Dark horse is like underdog, right?
Maybe No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Because spoilers for a few hours from now. I feel like that has a pretty good chance at edging out Bugsnax just from scope, and I think its scope and transformation over time and the community it's built is kind of what gives it a little bit of edge, even though it's kind of contentious in the sense that I think a lot of us here haven't spent a crazy amount of time with it, and it obviously had a very rough launch, but there's like a certain culture and vibe there that I feel like before looking at this bracket, you might not think about that as a game that could go far, but I feel like that might be a sleeper a little bit.
For sure. Bless, do you have one? Over in the chat, Casey says Resogun makes the final four, lock it in. I think that's a fascinating pick. I like that. I like where your head's at.
No way. I love Resogun, but I do think that specific bracket is tough with some of their games, because one of the ones I was going to bring up from that same part of the bracket is Fall Guys. Fall Guys I don't necessarily think of as one of the best PlayStation indie games, but it is one that I believe all three of us here have played and enjoyed a lot. And like, I think that it has a lot of things going for it, for how different it is and how quality it is, and its staying power and it launching on PS Plus, so it having that PlayStation connection. I think there's a lot of arguments you can make for Fall Guys that I wouldn't automatically, like seeing this bracket, I wouldn't automatically have that one be the one to jump out. But I think it'll probably make it pretty far because of what it is.
It's not a dark horse, I guess, but for me, I'm going to be very interested. And granted, I probably voted for a lot of these games, and I know Barrett tossed them in too, but I do love Drinkbox. And Drinkbox well represented on this. And so I'm not saying I always think of Drinkbox when I think of indies and PlayStation. I'll be interested to see where Guacamelee 2, the other one, Nobody Saves the World, is on here as well. Did Severed make it or no? Did Severed not make it on?
It's on here.
Oh, Severed's on here too? Holy shit. Oh, but they're fighting the first round of the square bracket. Guacamelee 2 versus Severed. Holy fuck. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to be interested to see where it all nets out, ladies and gentlemen. But it is about that time to get this bracket started. Before we do, though, let me remind you that you could have written in with your games over on patreon.com/kindafunnygames. On patreon.com/kindafunnygames, you can write in for crazy things like this. You could be watching live as we record this right now, so you could be voting when we need your help, or you could be yelling at us in real time and being part of the show. But most importantly for right now, you could be on patreon.com/kindafunnygames to get this entire episode ad-free. But since you're not there, let's hear a word from our sponsor. No one. And The Rock means no one likes waiting on a paycheck. Especially, ladies and gentlemen, when you've got bills due. Good thing there's now Chime. Now you can get your paycheck up to 2 days early with direct deposit. That's up to 2 more days to save, pay bills, and generally just feel good about your money situation. Waiting for your money, never good. Getting your money in advance, great. Who wouldn't want that? Chime is more than about just getting paid early. It's also an award-winning mobile app, checking account, debit card, and optional savings account. So what are you waiting for? Hopefully not your paycheck. Get started with Chime today. Applying for a free account takes less than 2 minutes. Get started at chime.com/kfgames. That's chime.com/kfgames. chime.com/kfgames. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Early access to direct deposit funds depends on the payer. Where'd the sunglasses go? Chime.com/kfgames. That's chime.com/kfgames. Have you heard about the legendary underwear brand that's taken the podcast world by storm? Famous for their buttery soft undies and bralettes, MeUndies loves podcasts just as much as you do. It's like they're made for you, and you're made for them. You're made for each other. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, you know I love my MeUndies because they're the most comfortable underwear I've ever had, and because they have great patterns. As the king of Halloween, my candy corn pair never fails to make me smile. Everyone knows MeUndies for their super soft undies and comfy bralettes, but did you know they also make other stuff? We're talking about durable, cushy socks that will make your feet sing. They even make hoodies for your dog so you can match every important person in your life. Available in sizes XS to 4XL and tons of colors and prints. MeUndies has a great offer for my listeners. Any first-time purchasers can get 20% off plus free shipping and returns. To get 20% off your first order, free shipping, and a 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/KindaFunny. That's MeUndies.com/KindaFunny. Janet, I'm going to leave it to you. Circle, cross, triangle, square. Where would you like to start this argument?
Circle.
We are starting with the circles, ladies and gentlemen. We will start at the very top then. The Forgotten City versus Dead Cells.
I hate that we're starting here. Because
what are you gonna do, Bless? What are you gonna do,
That's why I picked it. No, I just thought it started. Well, I read it from the top, so that's why. Top left.
Mr. Forgotten City, Blessing Adeoye Jr., then stepping up against Dead Cells, a runaway success, a juggernaut of an indie game.
And like, I wasn't that kind of funny when Dead Cells came out. I was fucking obsessed with Dead Cells. I love Dead Cells.
A roguelike so good that even Nick Scarpino was obsessed with it.
Like, Dead Cells was the thing that took the crown from the original Rogue Legacy for me when it came to like me falling in love with roguelites. Because I remember playing Rogue Legacy in like 2014, 2015 when I first got my PS4, and it being even in the early indie games, honestly, like it was the one that got me. I was like, oh shit, this is really fun. I got super hooked on it. And then years later, Dead Cells comes out, and I'm like, oh, this is just better Rogue Legacy, right? Like, it's Rogue Legacy with more gorgeous pixel art. You know, no offense to Rogue Legacy, obviously, but like Dead Cells just looked gorgeous. The weapons,
Rogue Legacy just catching strays for no reason out here.
Well, Rogue Legacy 2 is represented on. Well, actually, no. Is it Rogue Legacy or 2 that's on here?
Rogue
Legacy 2
is
because 2 is even on PlayStation.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Rogue Legacy. But yeah, Dead Cells just had the stuff.
Sure.
What do you guys think?
Dead Cells with a bullet. Now, full disclosure, I have not finished Forgotten City. I mean, honestly, let's just clear that up. I don't think I even played it. I think I might have started it and didn't pop a trophy because it was when you were on it, but I forget, it might have been during my paternity leave that I was like, I'm going to try this. And then I was like, I'm too tired for this. And I didn't get back to it. I know how much you love it. I know for a fact it's a Greg Miller ass game. You know, it's the one that started as a Skyrim mod, right? And it's now, a time loop. And when we were doing Deathloop, we were talking a lot about it. And I know you just played it in general, enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But still, I think just from an outsider looking in who's read a lot and talked to you about the Forgotten City a lot, and then somebody who has played Dead Cells. I didn't fall in love with Dead Cells like a lot of people did, but has played it and also read and had a lot of conversations on podcasts about it. I think Dead Cells is just a better game. Janet?
I think Dead Cells is probably the better game, just from general conversation. I've played a little bit of both, haven't finished either. You know, I'm usually not a rogue person. And Forgotten City, it just did not grab me in that way. So I feel like we're probably gonna end up giving it to Dead Cells. But I feel like there might be a conversation to be had in terms of innovation for like how they go about, I guess, exemplifying their genre, right? I feel like Forgotten City, while it didn't hit for me, did some interesting things that I think people will be looking back on in terms of smart design, from like letting you auto walk with your characters to like creating a sort of automatic system for like streamlining some of the loop elements of the game. Like, I think there's really great craftsmanship in that makes it special and worth noting in a way that when I feel like people talk about Dead Cells, it's generally just that it's a very good iteration within its genre, but I don't know.
Yeah, Forgotten City is one for me that is special because it is a kind of game that you don't get as often, right? Like, it's essentially a detective mystery game that it has a lot of the like mechanics and feel of a Skyrim or like of a Bethesda RPG, because it
Sure.
is coming from those roots. And so you play it and you talk to a character and it does like the zoom in that Skyrim has and all that stuff, right? It feels like playing that type of game, but it's not an RPG. It is this narrative. You are talking to people. You're trying to figure out who here broke the golden rule, and the game is pretty hands off in letting you take it at your own pace and figuring out the mystery for yourself. And the story just goes really cool places and really interesting places. And it has things to say about morality and good and evil, and like it also does the thing of, I forget who had the quote or it might have been an article or an interview or something, where a game developer was talking about the idea of the RPG that takes place just on a street, right? Like the RPG that isn't trying to be expansive, that doesn't have a big open world, that is, hey, this is a story that is being told about this specific street corner on this neighborhood, and the kind of intimate stories that you can get out of that. The Forgotten City is like a beautiful example of that, right? It is probably like 16 characters, maybe a little bit more, that you are talking to and building these relationships with, and every character is a character. Every character has an arc. Every character is meaningful in that game, and I think it gets so much more out of its character work and its stories because of its setup, and I just think it goes fascinating places. But that said, Dead Cells just got the gameplay. Like Dead Cells, like if you want to talk about a game that's pretty, right? Dead Cells, I think, takes it in that category for sure. It is a really good looking game. The pixel art is incredible. You want to talk about a game that is addicting? I think Dead Cells takes it in that category. A game that has like longevity to it. I put in probably like 20 to 30 hours into Dead Cells and did not get tired. Yeah, I might go Dead Cells. I think Dead Cells might be my.
I think we're going Dead Cells.
There you go.
I feel like
unanimous.
Yeah,
Blessing killed his dog behind the house. He had to go do it, and he did it.
It really hurt.
I appreciate that.
Rest in peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dead Cells has advanced to the next round of the PS I Love You XOXO PlayStation's Best Indie Darling. Now we look to Stardew Valley versus Oxenfree.
Now I get to sit back and relax.
I really loved Oxenfree a lot. I actually haven't spent like an inordinate amount of time with Stardew. Like I've started my farm, and hot take, I do like the fishing in that game. Usually people end up not liking the fishing because they go for a completionist thing, and then they're out here trying to catch one fish for like 80 hours, which I get why that'd be upsetting.
Sure.
But so this one's tough because I think in terms of like impact on games, longevity, even to a degree sauce, I think most people would give it to Stardew, but I love Oxenfree, and I feel like Oxenfree is very special. I will say a lot of people said it launched kind of broken, and that's kind of a thing with Night School. A lot of their games don't work when they launch them, but I played later, so that didn't affect me. So I didn't have any of those hangups. I love what Oxenfree does with storytelling. It is kind of a little bit of without spoiling it, a bit of a mindfuck game, both in what it's gesturing at in terms of the supernatural, but also in how it ends, but then maybe doesn't end. And I think it just emotionally puts you in very intense places. And it's a game that stays with me in a way that most games don't. This is probably one of my favorite games of all time. So I am actually a little bit inclined to say Oxenfree, but I think most people would say Stardew is the better game, just because.
Vote your heart. Don't worry about everybody else. Don't worry about everybody else.
I'm gonna throw it out there for Oxenfree then, because that's what was like that. It was very special to me. I also think Oxenfree is one of the few games that does teen writing that isn't cringe. Sure, Life is Strange has really gone far with like not being as weirdly, all the hellas and all that. But this was like, it felt so authentic. It's a couple kids hanging out. They're getting high. They're drinking. You can respond or not respond if you want to. I think what it does with narrative is really good. And then it has like this weird like stuff with the radio, and it's puzzly and it's scary. And it's just like, I feel like when it comes to, if I knew someone that liked both of these games, which is me technically, I would be quicker to recommend Oxenfree, I think, to be honest, in terms of experiencing a good game. But it's so tough because there's such different styles. And I do think Stardew probably is hotter in its genre than Oxenfree is in its genre, but it's also because one has more stuff than the other, I feel like, inherently in style. So that's my thing.
It still to this day breaks my heart that I've never been able to connect with Oxenfree. I played it at launch on a review build. It was buggy as fuck, and it did not work well for me. But I've come back, though. I've come back since then of like, listen, I like these developers. I love these kind of games, these kind of narrative games. Like, I'm gonna replay this, and I always get a few hours in. I was like, it just doesn't click for me. I'm gonna vote Stardew Valley, another game that I have played, and I've never gotten insane about it like Joey or Jen, like of like these crazy farms and these crazy things. But like I've played that and enjoyed that, and that taking over the farm and making relationships in the city and having to build out these different things. Like that is that game that for so many people is their Animal Crossing, and I totally see that and understand that and why. And I think that makes it the better game for me personally. And like, honestly, a game I understand your argument of recommending Oxenfree probably more often than Stardew Valley, because Stardew Valley is a game of systems and building on them, and you hoe the road, you plant the seed, you water, there are all the things you have to go do to keep that going, right? Whereas Oxenfree is a story and it's straightforward, and you can jump in and you can play, and you're just existing, and there's no fail state, there's no, or there probably is a fail state actually, but there's no right or wrong in terms of what you're picking in terms of dialogue, right? But in terms of this, I'm not here for the masses. I'm here to talk about PlayStation's best indie darling, and I'd have to vote Stardew Valley. Now, Bless, you lean back. You said you don't have to worry about this. Have you played neither of these? Do you want to kick this to the audience? Do you want to let them decide?
I would kick it to the audience, yeah, because like out of these two, I would pick Stardew Valley, but I've not played either, right? Stardew Valley, I would only say because of popularity, because it has been such a impactful entry in its genre when you're talking about the farming simulator games. I know it was the talk of the town, and like Stardew Valley still gets talked about and still gets played. Yeah. And still, if we found a new platform to release Stardew Valley on, it would find life once again, right? Like,
it's on the Tesla. I'm gonna restart my farm on there.
Wait, is it on the Tesla, or like are you saying? Wait,
really? It's straight up on the Tesla. It's on the Model 3. I mean, it's on the Model X too, because the X has everything. But
yeah, like
even
Stardew
the Model
Valley
3 can play Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley, I just know has that star power compared to Oxenfree, but I'm also like, I'm not somebody who got into either, and so like I wouldn't defer to me. I'll defer to you guys in the audience.
And right now, it's pretty much a runaway Stardew Valley with 82% of the vote. I don't think we have to leave it much open there to decide that's going to be the case. Stardew Valley has won.
Oxenfree never had a chance. I mean, that's why people want to, they're about to throw back for that with the hotel chocolatier. Whatever the fuck they're working on next.
Oh, right. I was like, what? Is Janet having a stroke right now? What did she say? Oh, right. Yeah.
Like the Ghost Chocolate Hotel?
It's the same thing.
I'm going to go too.
The Haunted Chocolatier, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
Ghost Chocolate Hotel, I'm still excited for Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals. Like, even though I vibe all the way with Oxenfree, or even really at all, I guess. But like, I don't know. It's such a weird one where it's just like, I don't know. It's that thing in the lead up to Lost Signals. I will try again with Oxenfree of like trying to complete a second playthrough of it. I don't know if it'll be that one, but we will wait and see. So that means that Stardew has advanced. They will face Dead Cells next round, but we will get back to that momentarily. We still have so much more to go. We might need to kick it up. Blessing does have a flight to go to, but this is an easy one.
I feel like the next few are going to be easy.
Return to the Obra Dinn versus Celeste.
Come on,
Celeste. All right, yeah. Okay.
Sorry, your turn.
It's another one. I've played both these games, and I should, without a shadow of a doubt, love Return to the Obra Dinn. You've all heard these stories of me getting to sit there playing Telling Lies, and I have the notebook full of notes where I'm like making the connections, yada yada, and like Obra Dinn just doesn't work for me. Like I just do not enjoy Obra Dinn. And Celeste, obviously, I don't even like that kind of game. I shouldn't say that. Usually that kind of platforming, we're gonna be fucking hard as nails, like blah, 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 doesn't work for me. I loved Celeste, and I had so much fun with Celeste. And then let alone the messages inside of Celeste and yada yada.
I know you talked about Dark Horse at the top, but when we were talking about like top contenders, Celeste is a top contender. That's gonna be a tough one to knock down.
Moving on to the next one, then. What Remains of Edith Finch versus Shovel Knight?
What Remains of Edith Finch?
What Remains of Edith Finch? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I love you guys, and this is why I do a show with you, because I was like, fuck, we're gonna have to argue about goddamn Shovel Knight. I'm very happy with you that's where you go too as well, because yes, I would 100% say Edith Finch.
Obviously respect to Shovel Knight, right? Like that's 100%. A very good game. But yeah, What Remains is fucking dope. People don't talk about What Remains enough.
It's like one of the best games of all time, which I know
agree
100%. But a lot of these games
it's one of the best
really
walking sims of all time for sure.
Yeah.
100%. What a story. What a way to have that story go out and go through it. Yeah. This is an interesting one now. Sound Shapes versus Moss.
It's going to be Moss, but Sound Shapes, I feel like I was more into Sound Shapes when I first picked up both. I liked Sound Shapes more, but Sound Shapes is very basic. I know it is like one of the few that does it, so I don't mean to like slight what it does, but it's like a simple, really nice time. While Moss, I feel like because it is both a good game and a VR game and kind of like an iconic VR game, and then again, the extra they're both very much PlayStation games, but like Moss with book 2, which hopefully comes to PSVR 2. It's gonna be Moss.
I'm voting Moss as well. I love Sound Shapes. I have the double platinum, yada yada yada. But like Moss is similar to what you're talking about with Oxen for you, Janet. Moss is a game that sticks with me, where it's like, you know, I fell in love with Quill, and I really enjoyed that experience. And yes, Moss Book 2, I tried on PlayStation VR, and I was like, oh no. And I have it on Quest. It's just been so busy. But like, I'm also then like, well, why not wait for PlayStation VR 2 and then have it there and get trophies or whatever? But I'm voting Moss 2.
I love that you had a hiccup or a burp as you were saying that you love Moss. It sounded like you're
getting choked up.
Yeah,
I just love Quill so much, but it was a
Mouse.
beautiful story. And we don't talk. And Moss again, criminally underplayed in terms of like it's VR, so it's on an island, right? VR island, just like Vita Island, and it's like that thing where just enough people didn't play it and talk about it, and like the the narration's fantastic because again, it's like someone's reading a book to you, so she's doing all the voices and shit. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Sound Shapes though. It's like I have not played Moss sadly, but I love Sound Shapes. I agree with the pick of Moss though. I like from what I know about Moss and hearing you guys talk about it, I think it's deserving. But yeah, Sound Shapes though, as an early PS4 indie. Yeah. Oh my god, like the making your own levels, making your own songs, playing other people's songs and levels. Oh man,
I'm playing it now on Vita. And people are like, "Oh, have you gotten to? I think it was the Beck levels or something, which I still haven't gotten to. But like, I've been having fun. You know, it sounds, it's shapes, it's everything it said it was and more. Sound shapes.
You're a dork. So Moss advances to the next round. There, it will face either Toem or Thimbleweed Park. I will start with Toem, of course, a game that I fully adore. Thimbleweed Park, a Ron Gilbert game, another game that I like Ron Gilbert a lot as a developer and as a person, and I was so excited. I picked it up and I was like, oh, like this just isn't my jam.
Same.
All right.
Is it that makes it easy? I don't have a horse in this race. I'm not playing it.
And
Go
play Toem.
Yeah. I just want to.
Is that just because there's a dog in it? Is that why you want me to play?
People love Thimbleweed Park, but I just did not like it, and maybe I have secretly a hang up on point and clicks. Secretly or something, because a lot of them I've played I have not connected with, even like Norco earlier this year. I was like really into it and then it really fell apart for me. Yeah, Thimbleweed Park, I was not into it. I know people that like it, love it. It didn't do it for me, but I don't know. Probably doesn't help that it's on console too as a point and click, which so.
Then Toem moves on to fight Moss in the next round, but for now, Iconoclast versus Slay the Spire.
Play the Spire, probably.
Actually played Iconoclast. I don't know one person. No offense to Iconoclast if you're a developer here. I've never heard of anybody playing it.
I didn't like roll credits on it, but I played it and I remember playing it.
Was it fun? Did you like it?
It was fun. Yeah, it was fun enough. Like, but I didn't finish it. Like, it didn't drag me through, but I remember enjoying it for what it was. But Slay the Spire is another one of those games that's like, especially for indie games, you talk about like, man,
Slay the Spire is fun as hell.
I played it recently. It's people's religion at this point. The people that like it. Like love it.
Yeah, I'm not falling like that deep into it. But from playing it when it came to, was it PS Plus? Why did I have this game? I had this game for some reason. It must have been PS Plus. I got it. I was like, oh man, I understand why people can get into this so hard because it is a very accessible or very approachable, I should say, card roguelike game. It makes it easy to get into. It's easy to understand, and that game just flows. Like you never feel like you're out of the action in it. Very well designed game.
Slay the Spire moves on then.
Yep.
And then closing out the circle bracket, Among Us versus the Doki Doki Literature Club.
Oh, these are two of my babies again.
What do you think about Doki Doki? Because I haven't. Okay, well then we're just gonna have to go Among Us because I haven't played Doki Doki. I've had sitting there for like
I love Doki
and I just
Doki.
haven't.
It's like but here's the thing, right? I think the thing that it has the most is shock value.
Yeah.
And shock value is kind of cheap to a certain point. And like,
sure.
I honestly, one of the reasons why I do like Doki Doki a lot is because the actual visual novel dating sim elements of it are done with like a lot of quality. I think the soundtrack is great. I literally go back and listen to the soundtrack every now and then. I think the character design is really cute, really cool. The colors it uses, all of its presentation, I think is dope as hell. And then even as I guess light spoilers for Doki Doki Literature Club, and this is a game that if you really are planning on playing it,
at this point, come on, like you know what I mean. Like
I'm gonna play it, Greg. It's still installed.
Janet, let it go. It's installed on my hard drive too, and I've started it, and I'm just like, I know that there's a twist, and it's just like I don't even want to sit here through this visual novel to get to the twist.
In the way that Hatoful Boyfriend took the visual novel genre and kind of like had fun with it and played with it, Doki Doki Literature Club does the same thing in the way that it's a visual novel, it's a dating sim, but then also all of a sudden it's a horror game, and I think it handles its horror really well. I think it is very affecting, but also again, a lot of that stuff comes down to shock value. And
Yeah.
for that, like, if I had to put it up against something else, like especially Among Us, which I think Among Us, if you want to talk about a game,
yeah,
that
a
has,
movement,
like, impact,
right? Yeah,
a movement, yeah. Like Among Us just I think has the stuff more than
put up Among Us, even though
Among Us has advanced.
Among Us is the actual act of playing it I find boring as hell.
Oh, don't say
like
that.
Among
I
Us.
love Among Us.
Yeah, like when you do the little tasks, like doing the tasks is boring. Like the only exciting part is when you're like lying to people, which is like the core of the game. But like it's y'all be playing Among Us, and I'll do it whenever there's a charity stream because people always want to play it for charity stream stuff. And I'm like, hi, but I never like it. It's never fun. I don't have a good time. I don't like it.
It's been a year, I think, that Janet's been full time on PS I Love You with us, or just about, or whatever. And it's shocking to me that I can still be shocked that we are so the same person. Because yeah, don't get me wrong, fuck Among Us. It's not that great of a game, but I think it's better than Doki Doki here on this.
But hey, if we're doing a big group stream,
not that great of a
like,
game.
I have
and
it
you're
all
like,
the time.
Hey,
like,
do you want to play Among Us with us?
Among Us is like the least fun
it.
fucking game to play because you go and you play with these people who are obsessed with Among Us, and they're like, "Oh,
That's
it was
me.
Greg because he fucking walked by this thing and did." I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. People are like, "Where am I?"
Reading the map
You gotta
is hell,
defend
too.
yourself.
I
Hey,
wasn't
there.
doing.
It
I
was
don't know
actually Sam.
anything. Like I don't know anything about this fucking
I
game.
remember the
It's
first
not
time I
fun to
played
play
it, they're
with
like,
these
I know it's
psychos.
you because you went through the vent, and only you can go through the vent. And I'm like, well, no one fucking told me, only I could go through the vent. But
Yeah.
you know,
Anyways,
you can have fun, and they did a lot of work, and yeah, you know.
Your next round
let's go
matchups
ahead.
in the circle section now look like this: Dead Cells versus Stardew, Celeste versus What Remains to Be the Finch, Moss versus Toem, Slay the Spire versus Among Us. Blessing. Do you want to go to triangle or square?
Oh, I was thinking cross. I was thinking just take it all the way down.
I like to keep it kooky and crazy, but okay, fine. You want to go to cross? Fine, we'll go to cross. God.
Yeah.
I mean, let's
You
say
built it
triangles where the good stuff's at. We gotta keep them waiting on that one.
Okay, you want? We'll go. Okay, fine. We'll go counterclockwise. We'll go down to cross, square, and then triangle. All right.
Perfect. Okay, let's
cute.
do it.
The cross bracket looks like this: Gone Home versus Firewatch, Hyperlight Drifter versus Disco Elysium, Pyre versus Graceful Explosion Machine, Super Meat Boy versus Short Hike, Beat Saber versus Death's Door, Cuphead versus Hotline Miami, Kana Bridge of Spirits versus Sifu, and Limbo versus Ollie World. Gone Home versus Firewatch.
This is what I've been training for. I've been training for this.
Now, Janet, did you beat Firewatch for the first time? Is that what I saw?
Fuck yeah, I did beat it for the first time. I never played it. I said, you know what? I'm not going to pull up to the show and not know what's what for this specific thing specifically.
This fight.
Everything else, don't at me. This one, I was like, I need to know. Because it's like one of the most iconic walking sims ever. I just happened to never play it. I was like, Isaiah, do you have Firewatch? He's like, I have Firewatch. I'm like, cool. This is the one of no times I get to take a game that you have and download it. So I did that. I booted it up. I played till like 1 a.m. and then I was like, do I want to finish it now? Do I want to wake up, finish it? I woke up and finished it. I ate my donut. I made my coffee. I sat down here.
Hell yeah.
There
what
we
do you
go.
Think? You like it?
It was fucking awesome. And I think it's probably Firewatch, which I will say, okay, with Gone Home versus Firewatch, I was like, I fucking love Gone Home. And I was like, it's gonna be Gone Home all day. Do I even need to play Firewatch? I'm like, I want to play it so I can understand like what's up. And plus, I want to play it anyway. So then I started Firewatch, and I was like, fuck, this thing smoked Gone Home so hard. It's not even close. And then I kept playing, and it was very exciting, and it kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time. I loved it. I was engrossed. I was playing like. I imagine Isaiah had to be laughing at me, looking at me playing this game because I was just like mouth open, just like obsessed with it. Then it got to the ending, and I was like,
"Yep,
that's
exactly how it goes."
Conversation here. There might still be a conversation. So I kind of want to say Firewatch because I think it has. It's tough because there's such different games, but I think Firewatch is more dynamic and more generally engrossing. And I feel like when it comes to like you want to have a good game experience and you can only play one, I feel like Firewatch is going to hit more, with the caveat of if you easily get lost, maybe you might have to a hard time with it. But it could really go either way. But I am leaning on Firewatch. But then I'm wondering, is it just because I played it like more recently? You know, if I played Gone Home again, but I remember
definitely
Gone
a bigger
Home
budget too than Gone Home.
Because I played it and then I watched the director's commentary playthrough of it. Like I was in love with Gone Home, but also Gone Home's ending too is kind of like it's a little bit of a fizzle out too.
Oh, I love Gone Home.
I love Gone Home's ending.
I mean, it just didn't. It was like because it has that whole. They both do the same. They're both the same game too, which is fucking crazy. They're both like, oh, it's a walking sim. But maybe someone's gonna kill you. Like they both do that. So I don't know. No, that's my rant on it. Love both games. Also, Firewatch's music bangs too. So
this is an interesting one because for me, it's almost like comparing Gone Home to Firewatch is almost like comparing like Super Mario Brothers, the first one, to Super Meat Boy, in the way that it's like one of them is the more classic, like
one crawled so the other could run.
Yeah, like I don't know if you get Firewatch without Gone Home. You know, Gone Home, I think, was such a big moment for walking simulators and showing like the kind of stories that you can tell with them. And we got so many more walking sims following Gone Home. And I think Firewatch I'll probably put in that category. And it's tough because I think you're right about the overall maybe like content and quality, right? Like I think there's more budget there. It's more visually stimulating. Firewatch. The soundtrack to Firewatch is great. There is voice acting in I guess there is voice acting in Gone Home also, but
Great voice acting in Gone Home.
Yeah, and like
not taking away from that wasn't a slight at Firewatch. Also great voice acting.
I guess what I say is there's more voice acting in Firewatch, right? And it's good voice acting, right? Like I was engaged by the conversations and relationship between the main character and the person on the radio and all that stuff. So it's hard to kind of like go blow for blow. What I will say is that I think Gone Home was more affecting for me, and Gone Home was more memorable for me. And like if you came to me and you're like, start naming your favorite walking sims, I think Gone Home would be higher would come first before I finally get to Firewatch. And part of that is just that I played Gone Home first. It had the first chance to affect me in that way. But I think also it's, you know, an early example of how well you can go about like conveying empathy in a video game and like really trying to put you in somebody else's shoes in this really cool, slowly methodical way, right? Like, well, let's guide you through this house and make you pick up the tapes and read the things. And like,
I like the puzzles a lot in Gone Home too. Like I feel like there was more to solve in Gone Home and engage with than Firewatch was more about, I was going from point A to point B, and it was fun to go to point A to point B because you could also go to C, D, and E, and it kind of gave you more like, they're very different kinds of games in some senses, but they have similar arcs of, is it this? Here's a twist, and you're sad and you're alone. Like you know, it's like they hit a lot of similar beats. The lightning in Gone Home, that's very fun.
And that's the thing, Gone Home. Like I think Firewatch has such great presentation and like it has great art style and looks really cool and all that stuff. Gone Home has atmosphere though. Like walking through that house and having it be like, oh, this is creepy. Is this a horror game? Like what's going on? And then, going through the story bits, kind of getting a better understanding of what's going on. And like finally having that transition of, oh, this isn't scary. Like this is, and it's scary, but scary in a different way for like another character. It's not like a horror game where a ghost is going to jump out at me or something.
I did like that you could engage with more stuff in like, again, Gone Home is so focused about that because it's all about that house. Like I felt like you could do more in the house. One thing that bugged me about Firewatch is like, all I can do is pick up a mug and chuck it somewhere. Let me pour a cup of coffee, all that budget, and I can't drink a cup of coffee. I can't do anything with the toilet paper I find in the little thing. Also, it kind of irked me that there was no platinum in Firewatch. I feel like
very true.
Why'd you do that?
Again,
I don't know why you did that.
For me, if you've listened to KindaFunny long enough, or Greg Miller in general, yammer about video games, you know how much I adore Gone Home and how, for me, Gone Home is, and I'm speaking out of turn, but in this argument, the better walking sim. And like for what you're talking about, Bless, if somebody just come to me and do it, and it's strictly because I just think Firewatch did not land. Like I had a great time with Firewatch. I enjoyed Firewatch. Don't get me wrong. This isn't at all a knock to Firewatch, but it was that I just did not think they landed the plane. Where we don't interact with Delilah, right? When that was her name. And then I thought the tacked on thing about the hikers just didn't work for me as much. Yada. Whereas Gone Home I was the same way. It's an old story, so I'll fast forward through it. But it was that everybody was saying, everybody play Gone Home, but don't look at the reviews. Don't read anything. Don't do anything. So I sat down on a Saturday and played it. And I thought for sure it was a horror game. And like where, like you find the book about ghosts in the TV room with the static on. Like I kept like walking in and out of like corners of rooms, like into doorways, trying to see if there'd be like a jump scare or whatever. And then you're picking these things up and you're finding these notes. And I remember when it finally went, like, I noticed that I was way more interested in the romantic storyline than the ghost storyline. And then it was like, wait a second, is this just a coming of age romantic story? And then it was. And then I got into that headspace of like, oh my God, this is so cool. I can't wait to see what happens with Sam and Lonnie next. And then it was what the fuck is going to be in this attic, and that pulling down the attic and going up there and being like legitimately terrified of what I was about to find. And then finding the spoilers for Gone Home. You should have all played it by now. A happy ending for Gone Home, or as happy as it could be, right? I was like, man, That was fucking amazing. And I did not have that feeling with Firewatch. Firewatch was like, oh, okay. I enjoyed this, but I didn't like the ending of it. So I'm voting Gone Home for sure with a bullet.
I think I'm also
Here's the
voting
thing.
Gone Home.
The only pushback I have on it, because it's not that strong, because I can go either way, honestly, is Blessing said Gone Home walks it so Firewatch could run. If Firewatch is running, doesn't that mean it's the better game?
Oh, you know what I mean. You know what I mean when I make that phrase.
I
But
only
also,
know. Why don't you clarify then?
I mean, I do think, when we're talking about the different criteria, for me, impact is part of the criteria. I take in impact as much as I take in like art style, presentation, gameplay, yada yada yada. But I also did have that same thing where did none of us like the ending that much to Firewatch, because I also didn't really like the ending.
I don't like it.
I didn't like the ending. No, I wouldn't say I disliked the ending, because I'm like, well, what else could they have done? But it was kind of like, I guess. And my thing with the ending of Gone Home, because it's not that it's a bad ending, but it is more exciting getting to that. And when you get there, I'm like, all right. And then it's done. Honestly, too, weird fun fact about the ending of Gone Home. I almost missed the ending the first time I played it, because the note is like off to the left and you just go straight. I was like, I guess we're done. And then I read the note and I was like, oh, okay. But it was like, all right, they didn't do a lot else for me either. They're both like, you don't get real closure. You kind of just get an end of a thing.
What do you mean you don't get closure on Gone Home? You get closure?
Okay, so like, the spoilers are gone. Like, she's missing. Like, I don't know what happened to her. She's not okay. She's a minor.
Missing is one thing. Yeah, she ran off with her love. Like, I don't think that's
missing. She's like 13 or 15. Like, you
No,
can't just
she was older
she's
than
young.
That. Her parents were homophobic. I get
she was like in
Lonnie was about to
I'm
enlist
not
in the military, so she's
left.
18. So Sam
I'm not
is
saying
whatever.
she shouldn't have left, but like, it's like, damn, like
you're gonna see her in 2 years tops. Don't worry,
bro.
They'll make Facebook and you'll find her, no problem.
I didn't feel like it was.
I want their love to be free, Janet.
I mean, Facebook's
I did
like a
not
decade
feel
away.
like relief and joy at the end of that game.
AOL.
I was like,
AOL
oh shit,
will be there in a
she's gonna
second. They'll
get
find each other in the chat room.
I'm like, nah, they're not gonna. I gotta find y'all. Gonna be dead. Like, you can't just be out here living and you don't have a house anymore. And it's like, yeah, that's gonna be hard. Yeah. That's gonna be a hard life. But yeah.
To be fair, plus there's a lot of people that say we'd fight off an alien invasion because of our will and our strength to survive. And Janet just showed she'd roll over. She would just like whatever these aliens want. She would just sit there and take it. She would have gone, oh, I need the house. So whatever, alien, you want me to work on this machine? I'll do it. I'm Janet.
I don't even know what you're talking about right now, but we can anyway.
I'm voting Gone Home.
I'm voting Gone Home too, but it's not an easy vote for me. It is like
that's
fair enough. I think that I go both ways.
Why did I work for like 5 more hours last night just for y'all to pick Gone Home? Anyway, I could have just not played Firewatch and just Gone Home.
Well, you get extra credit in the vote because you played the game last night?
I didn't play Iconoclast.
Yeah, but no one cared about playing Iconoclast. I'm sorry, Iconoclast. I know you're a fan of the show.
Your next fight here.
Put Gone Home in there.
In the cross division, we have Hyperlight Drifter versus Disco Elysium.
Sorry, Andy Cortez. It's fucking Disco Elysium. Incredible video game. One of the best written video games I've ever played. One of the only CRPGs that's actually demanded my attention that I wanted to put time into. Hyperlight Drifter, get the fuck out of here. That's all a joke, by the way. But I am going Disco Elysium.
I'm fine with that. People stay on Disco Elysium. I still have not gotten around to doing the final cut, but yeah.
I was going to sequester myself because I have not connected with either games. I've started them both and been like, I just don't feel like playing this right now. Maybe one day I will, but that day is not coming, so I don't know. So fine, Disco. Well, yeah, unless chat. I
choose Disco Elysium if that means anything.
All right, cool, Raj. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
Disco Elysium is dope as hell, but we'll get there. I'm sure I'm autopilot for it at some point later, so I don't have to argue right now.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I'm gonna go for it next round. I'm gonna cover this boring ass goddamn text game. Get out of here. Gone Home versus Gone Home. Get the fuck out of here, Disco.
But I version has washing machine and
Pyre versus Graceful Explosion Machine. Pyre, right?
Yeah, I'd go Pyre. Honestly.
I
don't know if I can tell you anything about Graceful Explosion Machine right now.
I love Graceful Explosion Machine.
It's like colorful, right? And like pretty.
Yeah, it's like one of the best shmups I've played, in my opinion, because I love what it does. I love what it does with its approach to bullet hell. Normally I can't do a lot of like shmups like that where you're like in the space shuttle essentially hitting a bunch of stuff because it's too pattern based. But they don't have each like enemy has kind of a little bit of a pattern, but it's not bullet hell pattern memorization. And they also give you some fun abilities with like being able to zoop through things. It's very colorful. I love Graceful Explosion Machine, but I actually
Great
didn't
game.
spend any time with Pyre. So if y'all are saying Pyre, I'm gonna have
I've
to
played them both, and I vote Pyre. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. But play Graceful Swimming Machine if you haven't already. It is one of like
100%.
my favorite games.
All right then. So that advances, and they will fight either Super Meat Boy or a Short Hike.
Man.
Actually, this is tough.
It is.
I was automatically gonna go with Short Hike, but like
Oh.
I think that might be recency bias. I fucking love Super Meat Boy playing it back.
I was
in the
gonna
day.
go Super Meat Boy, I think.
I'm gonna vote Super Meat Boy as well. A Short Hike is another
Man.
game that I've tried multiple times and gotten into.
What
Like I
is
played.
wrong with you, Greg? Why are you out here just trying all these great games and being like, I don't like these? Like, I don't
It just
understand.
doesn't
I thought
click
we
for
were
me
the same.
sometimes, Janet. You know what I mean? I'm getting feathers. I'm climbing the fucking thing. Just fucking get to the top of the goddamn thing and call whatever you got.
Oh,
You know
but you're
what I
taking
How
pictures
dare
of
you.
Toem trying to see fucking Toem, and that's fine.
Didn't you play God of War? They
it's
spent
even
30 hours
more-
climbing a mountain in that game.
All right, all this said, Super
just
Meat
run
Boy still a
around,
better
God
game.
damn it.
Super Meat Boy still a better game.
Top mountains that you climb in games. A lot of these games, you're climbing a mountain. You're either
Yeah.
climbing a mountain or you're sad in the
me
woods
tell
or
you-
in your house, whatever the fuck.
Let me talk about Mario 64.
So yeah, I guess we can talk about. I think we can just move on then from
Yeah,
there.
we got a lot
like,
of games to go
Yeah,
through.
we'll
So
talk
if we're
about
gonna
it.
find Super Meat Boy wins.
We can talk about Super Meat Boy later when we have to fight for it through something, but it's fine. But Short Hike is awesome. I love Short Hike, but yeah, Super Meat Boy.
Short Hike is awesome.
Next
it's
up
really
is
good.
Beat Saber versus Death's Door.
This is another tough one.
Beat Saber with
Beat
a bullet.
Saber
Really?
with a
Damn,
bullet.
man.
Yeah, that's right. Take that, Death's Door.
Well, you didn't like you did not like the
8.5
timing
out of 10 game.
or whatever in Death Store. What is Beat Saber then? A 9? Like, wow, 0.5? Okay.
Yeah, probably a 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beat
Yeah,
Saber is
whatever,
an
sure.
incredible game. I mean,
I-
you know what I
It
mean?
is an incredible game, but
I hate
damn,
on
there's so much
Death's
freaking
Door
electronic
so much
music.
as somebody who really likes Death's Door. I only hate on it because people like it way more than I do. Like, I like that game. It's just like, I don't know if it's a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, and that's enough for me to be a hater, and so I apologize.
No, you're not busting. Play the heels sometimes. Don't worry about it so much.
People get so
out there.
mad. They're like, oh, you hate Death's Door, and I'm like, no. I just don't like it as much as
I don't
you
like
do.
how much you like it. That's the answer.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's like
I've
Miles
been there.
Morales.
Oh, god damn it. Don't bring that in. All right, Beat Saber advances Death's Door. You are a great game. Don't get me wrong, but come on. Beat Saber? What a
Beat
fucking
Saber.
game.
That's another one that might be a dark horse.
Cuphead versus Hotline Miami.
Cuphead.
Cuphead.
I would vote Hotline Miami.
I
And
would
I,
vote
knew- I
Hotline.
knew it
Spent
would
all
be
that time drawing, Greg.
I knew it would be a losing battle no matter
They
what.
drew
but-
so much stuff. Just give them their little.
Yeah, they
I'm
worked
not, again, I'm not even
spot.
arguing that like I know I've lost, Janet. I'm giving up the ground. I'm just
They
letting
worked on
everybody-
that game for 15 and a half years. Just give them the W, Greg.
I hate you guys. You don't know why I do this sometimes. All right, you know what I mean? I could just sit here and do a show by myself. Kena Bridge of Spirits versus Sifu.
Are we gonna Sifu?
Damn, really? Why?
Kena is just the best PS2 game. Just the
Yeah, I
best PS2
guess.
game.
Yeah.
And Sifu is like an incredible modern game where it's like, oh damn,
I put them
guess.
both in
Also,
like
we can
that
say
similar.
seafood and we can't say Kana, so I guess it's
Yeah, it'll
It's
be
fine.
easier for us. Yeah, for the future of the episode, if we just get Kana out of here.
for me. Like the reason I thought more about it is I think I enjoy Kana way more than Sifu, but Sifu is more mechanically impressive than Kana is. And I don't know, Sifu. At launch, I just couldn't even play it because it was like, it's too fucking hard. And then I know they patched that in later, but it's like, whatever, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
just let Sifu go.
If
It's
I-
fine.
if I
They're
was to
gonna
do
get knocked
the-
out soon anyway. It doesn't
If
matter.
I was to do the criteria thing, right, like in terms of like visuals or whatever, that's probably the thing that Kana does that's the most special about it. But even then, I'd say Sifu's very close to it in visuals. Like Sifu has
They
such
got
a
their little
dope ass
rot.
visual style. They got the rot that look so cute. They got just look at a still of Kana. It's like it's such a gorgeous game.
Beautiful
But
game.
then you get into the museum level of Sifu, and it's like, wow, I can't believe this looks this good. You get into the third level that takes place in the caves, and there's so many cool visual things that they're doing in Sifu. But then you get into the mechanics and the fighting, and I think Sifu just goes hard with it. I like the combat in Sifu more than the combat in Kana, and like it's a little bit unfair because Sifu is very much a beat 'em up, but Kana is an action game, right? That is a game that is taking inspiration from Souls like combat, but I don't think they nail it as much as
Took
Sifu
too
nails
much
it.
inspiration from this.
And then your final one in the cross category is Limbo versus Ollie Ollie World. I assume Limbo walks to the next round, right?
Yeah, Limbo walks all over the grave of Ollie Ollie World.
That means your cross division looks like this at the end of this round. Gone Home versus Disco Elysium, Pyre versus Super Meat Boy, Beat Saber versus Cuphead, Sifu versus Limbo. Now, we are already long in the tooth of the episode. So my question becomes, what time do you have to leave for this flight, Blessing?
I think like 2 p.m.
Okay.
I can check
And then
my
Janet,
Are you
can
like ready to go though? Are you like gonna stand up and like?
No, I'm
roll
ready
away?
to go. Literally, my bag
Okay.
is packed.
And Janet, you're
Okay.
good till 2?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. I want to make sure we don't do anything because
I'm like,
we
I
could
have
just do
nothing
one
going
half.
on in my life here. This is
All right,
like
then.
the highlight of my day, which is how
We'll-
bad my day is.
We'll now jump to the square bracket. All right, to the square division.
Sure.
Square division begins with Rogue Legacy versus Overcooked, then After Party versus Chicory, Fury versus Stray, Titan Souls versus Undertale, Fall Guys versus Little Nightmares 2, Resogun versus Costume Quest, damn it, Guacamelee 2 versus Severed, Super Hot versus The Witness, Rogue Legacy versus Overcooked.
Overcooked.
Rogue Legacy. What'd you say, Bless? Sorry.
I said Rogue Legacy.
Janet?
It's Overcooked. Like
Joy
Overcooked is
losing.
like Overcooked's amazing.
It
It's
is?
like it is, in my opinion, I think the best of its genre. I think it's really surprising to be able to do wonky physics that isn't all about. It's funny how hard it is to play your game. Instead of just leaning into completely wonky physics, Overcooked does more like a light, slippery physics system where you do have complete control, but it is a little bit unwieldy in some regards. They've dropped like a crap ton of DLC for it. I also don't know why Overcooked 2 is not here instead of Overcooked 1. Y'all fucked up on that. That's the audience, not you guys. But you guys should put Overcooked 2 because it's a better game because you can throw stuff. But yeah, it's. I think the way it allows for collaboration, but also is just an engrossing game in its own right. It does a good job, I think, drawing the line between overwhelming the player, but also giving you the tools and the sort of level design to be able to execute on the challenges it puts forth. I think it's an incredibly special game, and I also, why is it's so funny because it's Rogue Legacy and Overcooked. It's like they both have more modern iterations. I know Rogue Legacy 2 wasn't on PlayStation, so that's why. Versus like Rogue Legacy, like y'all were dragging it 10 seconds ago, and I got nothing bad to say about Overcooked. I got no notes for Overcooked, and any notes I had were done through Overcooked 2. So there.
Overcooked is a fantastic game. Overcooked 2 is a fantastic game. Rogue Legacy was a spiritual experience for me in terms of a roguelite. Playing that on the Vita, just going over and over again on every run. It was the first roguelite I'd ever gotten into.
Honestly, I like Jana's argument for Overcooked. Overcooked is not my jam. In fact, whenever my friends suggest we play Overcooked, I get stressed out and I start sweating because that game just does not sit
You
well with
sweat a
me.
lot when you play with people. I'm noticing that it's
Yeah, I
trend.
do.
It's like that and the Phasmophobia, but yeah.
Come on, Bless.
Look,
How
man,
good
you
was
ain't
Rogue
never
Legacy?
cooked with me,
Rogue-
Bless. I
Rogue
promise you we'll
Legacy-
have a good time. Yo, let's cook it
Here's
up.
the
I'll
thing.
cook it up with you right now. I'm charging the controller. Let's go. It's a good
I
ass game.
understand, this bracket it's all about our bias, right? And like,
Yeah.
I do have the bias for Rogue Legacy, but
You don't think Rogue Legacy a better game mechanically than Overcooked? Coming back, having the different traits, having the different classes.
I mean, systemically, yeah.
You can be
but
a
also,
raccoon
it's
and
more
you
of a
can
systemic
cook in this game.
I mean,
Overcooked.
in the chat, Mitch Krassen is yelling at you. Put it to the chat, Bless. So you can just forfeit your vote and put it to the chat if you want.
Or you can just come with me to Overcooked. Look, I didn't say shit when y'all were just running over Limbo and Kana and all this other stuff. Give me Overcooked.
Overcooked had a
Give me
big
Overcooked.
impact. Like, Overcooked is
You know what's
popular.
going to die in the next one anyway, but just, let's put it up
People
there.
love Overcooked, and it is like when I watch my friends play Overcooked, I am like, oh, they're having a good time. Like, people, it's more of a
But
me
when
thing than a
you
dog.
played Rogue Legacy or talked to anyone who played Rogue Legacy, did they have a good time?
Yeah, but like Overcooked just hit harder for people. It seemed like.
Yeah, man.
And again, I'm not
I
trying
live
to.
Overcooked, man.
I'm not trying to like give it up to popularity or whatever and have popularity aside. I am more so trying to put aside my own biases.
Come on, chat.
to
Give
hear
into
out-
the Onion
to
King.
hear
Let's
out
go.
Janet Garcia.
Don't just pick Rogue Legacy. It's like, I feel like it's easy to say, Rogue Legacy is a better game. Why? Because of this. I feel like it's because the genre is inherently requires
hardcore.
more complex. It requires more complex execution for it. Like, the reason Overcooked doesn't have more like layered mechanics is because that's not the kind of game it's trying to go for. It needs to have like the simplicity of a party game while having like, I think, the design ethos and the execution and the refinement and the movement of a game that you usually don't get in a genre like that. I've played so many games that are like, it's like Overcooked, but none of y'all got that Overcooked sauce because there is no Overcooked other than Overcooked. Well, there's a bunch of games that are better than
fair.
Rogue Legacy. Rogue Legacy got dragged like 10 minutes ago because it's great.
It
Like, I
didn't
love
get
Rogue Legacy.
dragged.
Yeah, it did. Like, Forgotten City, I forget why y'all were dragging it, but
was
it got
Dead
dragged
Cells.
like, it was Dead Cells. Overcooked is
You know
nothing
what?
like it.
I've been sold. I think that's a good point. That there is no other Overcooked. No other co-op game is doing it. No other co-op cooking game is doing like Overcooked. There are a lot of Rogue Legacies out there.
I will say shout out to
Nobody's
both the
doing it-
games for getting a sequel because
Like, Dead
most
Cells
indies
is-
don't get a sequel. So shout out to
Dead
that.
Cells
but-
is doing it like Rogue Legacy. Like Hades is also on this bracket, and Hades does Rogue Legacy better than Rogue Legacy.
Oh, I don't know if I agree with that argument, but
Come on, Chad,
fine.
give your life to
Bless
the
has already
Onion
done it.
King.
Bless has
Yeah.
swayed his vote.
I'm
Janet
sorry, you
has
Yeah.
swayed
won.
me, Janet. Good argument.
Thank you.
Overcooked advances. The chat is with you. 73% of the chat.
Let's
was
play
with
some time,
Overcooked on
Bless.
that
It's
one.
fun. It's fun if you have the right.
You gotta be
team.
chaotic. You can't be predictable. This whole thing, you know.
After Party
That's
versus
it.
Chicory.
Where is Parasite Eve?
Chicory.
Chicory. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
All right,
Easy.
cool. After Party, again, a game I want to really like and I just can never get into. So, and even Chicory, I didn't adore like you guys did, but I played more of it, and I understand.
Yeah.
Fury versus Stray.
I fucking love Fury. Have you guys played Fury? Do you guys?
I have
I
not.
haven't. I haven't.
It's a boss rush game. Came out
Stray.
like quite a few years ago. It has really cool style. I believe the art was done by like the artist from like Afro Samurai. It has that sort of art style to it, and the action is just solid, right? It is that dodge and parry game that Andy Cortez and also I like a lot. That said, I might go Stray. I might go Stray only because like Fury, even though I loved it, I do think the thing that elevated for me was one, the soundtrack, two, how good the action feels. Right, I think it's a really fun game to play, and the boss battles are really difficult, and it gave me that like Sifu style of, oh, I'm just gonna bang my head against the wall until I get through this thing, and I really like that type of game. That said, the polish wasn't all the way there in Fury. Like the story, I didn't really care about. They try to do cool presentational stuff, but between the boss battles where it is you're walking to like whatever the next boss fight is while there's voiceover playing, and that stuff didn't hit well with me. And then also like a lot of the attacks from the bosses were just orbs, right? Like the attack patterns didn't really look that unique or like visually stimulating. It was very much like, here's a bunch of orbs being thrown at you. And again, I really like the gameplay. I really love Fury, but I do think Stray has a bit more going on. I think it has a bit more, has a lot more going on from the presentational aspect of it. It is a gorgeous looking game. It is a game that has a great soundtrack. It is a game that I think does interesting things, right, as this cat simulator, and they really nail the feeling of being a cat. I have my complaints with Stray, and I'm
It
sure we'll
sounded
get
like
there.
it was really hard for you to get that sentence out. You're like, I guess.
I guess, but no, like I got my complaints with Stray, but I think we'll get there when we get there. For now, I think I'll go Stray over Fury.
Yeah, I don't
Chat's
even think you
with
need
you.
to get there.
Yeah, chat's with you. 81% voting for Stray over Fury. So now 84%. So right there with you, Bless. Now, Titan Souls versus Undertale.
Dude,
Undertale.
I don't even like Undertale.
I would have said Titan Souls. I know I knew I was going to lose from the beginning, but to give its flowers, just a great game of like going through another great
yeah.
Vita game. Just going through and fighting bosses over and over again. I love
Also,
it.
too, Bless put up that tweet, and that video was like scary as fuck. So I'm not ready for her.
Just so you know, I know
come
Undertale at some
unhinged.
point is gonna get cut, and once it gets cut, oh, you're gonna get
I know.
a different version of me on the show. You better pray that my flight comes through and I have to leave.
Fall Guys versus Little Nightmares.
Fall Guys.
Fall Guys.
Um,
Fall Guys. No, sorry, Little
yeah,
Nightmares 2,
I
to be
got-
clear.
Oh, what?
Little Nightmares,
Nightmares
2,
2 is the
not
one that's on
first
the
one.
Oh. Like it's Fall Guys versus Little Nightmares 2. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd go Little Nightmares 2, but like I'm not going to win. So it's
Yeah, I'm
kind of
going
like
Fall
what's the
Guys as
point?
well. Just another
Yeah.
indie game that's come on so strong and been so amazing.
Another game I
Resogun
only
versus
play for charity.
Costume Quest.
Resogun.
Costume Quest.
Oh,
I
I played Costume Quest and I didn't play Resogun. So put it to the chat, or unless
Chat.
Blessing, you wanna, if anyone wants to like fight for
What
it.
is the
give me
artist-
your 60-second pitch for why you're picking Resogun.
Oh, this is a fucking good ass Housemarque game. You know, I think that's that's a bit of Housemarque at their peak right there, right? Just give me a pure arcade shoot 'em up game that feels like I'm playing at an actual arcade, right? You get in there, the action, the lights, like the amount of stimulus that's going on screen with the voxel graphics. I think it's just wonderful to look at, but then it's also wonderful in action, and the gameplay loop is there, and it's tight, right? It's as tight as you want a Housemarque game to be, and I think it is. Like, if you're putting one Housemarque game that's obviously not Returnal on this list or on this bracket, and it got to be Resogun, right? And so, like, if you're a fan of Housemarque, this is like the Housemarque game, and I think it fully represents who they are as a studio.
Excellent. Chat.
Greg,
Costume Quest. I know I'm going to lose. Don't worry. I'm going to put it to the poll. I know you're all going to vote Resogun because Resogun's a
There's
fantastic
Halloween
game.
candy in Costume
But
Quest, and there's
It's Costume
costumes,
Quest.
and
It is
there's
a
kids.
Halloween game. It is adorable. It is
The kids
beautiful.
are cute, then they
oh, it's a
become
Halloween
big.
game? Oh, I'm sweating.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Fucking
course.
love
Yeah. You know, Ren's got to go save her brother. You get to wear kooky costumes. You get fun abilities. There's a lot of great jokes in it. Like, it is a heartwarming, adorable game that I know you're all about to murder. So
it's a really fun concept too. I think it's like it's really unique and yet feels very obvious. Like, of course, why did no one think of this before? But yeah, Costume Quest is really cute. But it also, I do remember playing it and I didn't finish it, so I don't know if that says anything about it. But I also didn't try a Resogun, so I don't know.
Resogun's a fantastic game, obviously. You know,
I feel like Resogun probably would get less notes, like less negative notes than maybe Costume Quest might. Sure. But Costume Quest is like a cute, fun time with a group of neighborhood kids. You know, before Stranger Things dropped, Costume Quest was out here.
Resogun has the poll, of course, 68% to 32%. So Resogun advances, and they will take on Fall Guys. To close out the last four here of the square bracket, we have Guacamelee 2 versus Severed. 2 Drinkbox games going head to head.
Guacamelee 2. Severed's not that good of a game. I've said a lot of times. It's not. It's very like It's very it has a great, amazing. It's probably the only good Latin representation from Drinkbox in my opinion. Severed. Which I really appreciate. It's got a lot of cool stuff with death. Like the world building's very fun. However, you are just swiping away limbs, and it's just not that interesting. But like you have to do it
at like certain times because the limbs will close, and then like they block you, and you have to like manage the swipes.
It was fine. Like it was a cool game, but it's the kind of thing that like, yeah, it's fine. It's a fine game. And even though actually Guacamelee 2 I did get really burnt out on because it's so long, and I think for all the innovation they made mechanically, like there are parts of that game where the platforming is just, I'm not a fan of. It's way too heavy. But I'll still give it to Guacamelee 2. I think it's probably the better game. Though if I had to play one, I'd play Severed because it's shorter, and I also got really freaking sick of Guacamelee 2. But it's my
Guacamelee 2. I'm in a similar boat
better.
with Janet for Guacamelee 2 of it's fantastic and it's incredible and I enjoy playing it, but I burn out on it and I've never rolled credits on it. I stop and then I come back and I'm like, oh, I'm so deep into it, I forgot what I was doing. Severed, I really loved Severed for what it was. And it is just swiping. It is, the thing. I played it on Vita at launch. You go around the dungeons and discover the map and do this thing, get the story. Like, I enjoyed that experience. And in this matchup, I would vote Severed.
So what's going on? This is tough for me because I've not played Guacamelee 2, but also Guacamelee 1. Oh, wait, is Guacamelee 1 on here?
It is. Yeah. It's up against Fat Princess in the triangle bracket, which I was also, I like Guacamelee 1 more than Guacamelee 2.
Yeah, me too. Even though Guacamelee 2 has more like meme cringe, but it's a better game in my opinion than 2.
Okay, that changed it a little bit for me because I was gonna just argue for Guacamelee 1 then, like as like my. All right, well, if Guacamelee 1 isn't on here, then maybe I'll go for Guacamelee 2. But between Guacamelee 2 and Severed, I think I'll just go Severed then, because like I really love Severed. It's like it's a first-person game on the Vita, which like that's tough to get right, and they got it right in my opinion. And of course, that's because they made it like the static dungeon crawling game, but it worked and it's unique. And from Drinkbox, is gonna have a great art style, and it really to me nailed that art style. I love the look of the enemies, and to the point where it is just you severing limbs. I think they made it work, right? I think that for them, I'm shocked that like that's where they came down on like in terms of like a game design, like this is what we're gonna do, especially coming off of platforming beat 'em up Metroidvania game. Now let's make a first person dungeon crawling game where you're using swipes to fuck it. Like to me, that's such a unique pivot, and I thought it worked extremely well. I had a lot of fun with Severed. It was one of the few games that it was probably one of my favorite games on the Vita that I played. So that's what I'm going for.
Severed advances.
Also, really quick, Matt Grover in the chat says, Guac 2, isn't that only like 7 hours? 1, I don't know because I don't have that memorized. But 2, you don't got a time of completion has nothing to do with if you're too long. Like, that says more about the design.
If you overstay your welcome, right?
Yeah, I was done. I was done. Long before I was done.
Closing out your square division, it's Super Hot versus The Witness.
It's The Witness, I guess, right? Because
I would have voted Super Hot.
I'm not a witness person because I am not smart enough to walk through and do all the stuff. That's my thing. Where
I don't enjoy The Witness. Like I don't enjoy like getting my head smashed in with puzzles and stuff. And I know a lot of people do.
The Witness has the fire though, so I have to like.
The Witness is one of the best puzzle games ever made. Like it is incredible. The way that they made an open world island that in itself is just a puzzle, right? And like for me, I always go back to is like spoilers for The Witness, but I don't like at this point you don't care.
It's okay.
It's got that loaded up right now. They're like, man, this weekend I'm diving into The Witness.
I was gonna play The Witness this weekend.
One day I'll try again, I think, but it's like I don't think I got the.
But for me, The Witness became truly special, where I spent hours and hours going through the puzzle panels that they have on the island, right? Because it is an island divided up into areas, and like each area kind of is its own puzzle type, and you're doing all that shit. There was a moment where I was just stuck on a puzzle, and I was like, "What do they want me to do?" And like I take a step back, and I notice that in the world there is a thing that looks kind of like one of those line puzzles from The Witness, and I was like, "Oh, that's peculiar." And I press X to bring up the dot that like is your puzzle dot used for the panels. I put it in that circle. And I start tracing the line, and it turns out, oh, that is a puzzle. And like I've been looking at these the whole time, and they've been populated in the world. And like the game all of a sudden took a new identity of, oh, not only is it these puzzle panels, but now like the island itself is a fucking puzzle that now I am solving. And like it is such a cool and well designed game, and like the different ways in which they go about doing the line puzzles and all that, I think is just special and very well done. And so
super hot, incredibly fun VR game that I think is more approachable and ready for anybody to jump in there, and only moves when you move. And I really enjoyed it and had a great time. But
Just
yes,
like
I know that The Witness is, of course, a amazing puzzle game, man. It has the votes, so The Witness moves on to face Severed.
I was expecting the audience to go super hot.
I didn't ask the audience, but there were a lot of super hot calls in there, but it might have been one person over and over again.
I'm too dumb to say whether The Witness is a good game or not, so I have to just concede. It's a blessing. But yeah.
Do you want to put it in the chat to argue against? Okay.
No, I think the chat will go Witness. Like, it's just, some people will be like, it's pretentious or whatever, but like, I don't know. It's a great puzzle game.
No, don't get me wrong. I think it probably is a bit pretentious.
Yeah, well, Jonathan Blow made it, right?
But also, yeah. It does have that game has the stuff to back it up, I will say.
He's like, don't I have the sauce though? And I'm like, you do. So
yeah, it's like Kanye West saying his discography is good. It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he's like, but you didn't like it for why I wanted you to like it. I'm like, you could just not do this interview.
For fun and games, I'm putting it to the chat because there's enough people yelling. So I don't. Janet has negated your votes. She didn't want to hear it, and she said, she's voting Witness. But just to see if you would have risen to the challenge.
And let me watch y'all just do what I said you were gonna do, which is probably what's gonna happen. I feel like.
Like if Superhot took it, and I don't. Is this to determine it, or is this just for fun?
I don't know. We'll just.
Janet wants to see the results before she agrees or disagrees with them.
Because I also really like Superhot. Like I wouldn't be mad.
I feel like The Witness is just generally the better game.
I think it's the better game, but also like I think Superhot is fucking incredible.
Superhot's really fun, yeah.
See, we're not saying though what's the better game. We're saying what's the indie darling.
The Witness. The Witness was literally shown off at the PS4 reveal. You remember?
I'm aware. I know how big The Witness is, and I understand how many people like it, and what a great game it is. And I played a little bit of it. I'm like, fuck this, and I played a lot of Superhot because Superhot's great.
I'm saying PlayStation Connection right there. The Witness, Jonathan Blow.
When they showed the clip of The Witness on stage too, I remember like Jonathan Blow came out and was like, "Mine's one of the only games that doesn't have like explosions in it," but and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Just get out of here.
Don't watch that though. It was like a wild moment.
You're a hipster.
I was like, okay, like, all right.
67% of the chat says super hot.
Oh, there you go.
Justice.
Super hot does have a gun and The Witness doesn't, so to my knowledge.
that is Jonathan
super hot lets you move in slow motion like Neo, Janet. Super hot is fun to play for anybody. Super hot is one of the games you put in the VR headset on anybody who visits.
I thought that was just for fun. We never decided.
Like
Janet never decided what her vote was. I'm still arguing, hoping Janet will go. You know what? I will bend my vote.
No, I'm gonna go with blessing for The Witness.
All right, fine. Witness advances.
So we're just vetoing what the audience said.
Well, that was
again. Janet never said the audience was actually getting to vote. Wow. She was just saying she wanted to see it so she could thumb him in the eye, which I appreciate. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta say,
I do appreciate. Yeah, I know you can boo me. It's not the first time I've been booed, and it won't be the last.
Tomato.
Power says super hot makes me feel cool, and The Witness makes me feel dumb.
Yup,
that's true. You're not
wrong. Put it.
I don't know. Well, I don't know.
Sometimes you gotta eat vegetables with the candy, though.
Yeah,
with the candy.
Bless. You gotta eat vegetables.
I'll take this Starburst and a carrot.
Here's the thing, like. I defer to Bless even with the audience vote because he's the only one that's really like engaged with 2 on a level that I have not engaged with The Witness at a deeper level. So that's why. All right, we're just gonna do the witness, and let's just do the witness. Yeah, let's just do the witness.
All right, let's get to the triangle bracket. All right, let's just get out of here. You nightmare people. Triangle. Walking Dead versus Hollow Knight. Nobody Saves the World versus Sayonara Wild Hearts. I can't speak. Rocket League versus Nidhogg. No Man's Sky versus Bugsnax. Fez versus Hades. Bastion versus Journey. Inside versus Outer Wilds. Fat Princess versus Guacamelee. We will start with Telltale's The Walking Dead versus Hollow Knight.
Listen, there's a right answer here. Will we give that answer is the question.
I don't know. Will we say Telltale's The Walking Dead?
Oh,
Will we say Telltale's The Walking Dead?
I feel like Hollow Knight's probably the better game, right?
Hollow Knight's for sure. Like Hollow Knight's for sure the better game, but I also have more of an affinity for The Walking Dead, and I've not played through Hollow Knight. And so, like, I don't know if I can say
if you
Hollow
haven't
Knight.
been motivated to play through Hollow Knight, is it the better game, Blessing?
Say what you believe, Blessing. Say what's in your heart.
No, because if I do, the audience is gonna kill me.
I'll back you up. We're right here.
All right,
you don't like Hollow
Roger's
Knight?
backing me up. Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Like, let's get fucking crazy.
We are getting crazy, and we're allowed to be crazy because it's our show, and you can all go make your own shows. But again, to not take away from Hollow Knight, a great game, obviously. It's not my cup of tea, obviously, but like Hollow Knight, a great game. We're not saying that. And is it a better game than The Walking Dead? Well, yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of, and I'm talking about mechanically, right? Of like the years behind it and the engines and yada, yada, yada. But to live through what The Walking Dead was season 1 and to be like, to remember what that did for the Walking Dead the Walking Simulator narrative game in the way that, remember, before this, Telltale's games were point and click bullshit. They were the things you didn't like about The Walking Dead, probably, of like, oh, the batteries, how do I put them in this fucking thing? But they were like the fucking Back to the Future game of trying to figure out the right way to get the machine in Doc Brown's apartment to work. Like, it wasn't fun. Like, The Walking Dead was such a great translation of what the Walking Dead universe was from the comics to a video game, let alone to give us Lee and Clementine, let alone to give us these relationships and characters I still think about. I was just thinking about them yesterday, not because of this. Like, Hollow Knight, don't get me wrong, a great game, mechanically more sound than The Walking Dead for sure, runs better than The Walking Dead for sure. But do you think about, and again, like, I'm not a Hollow Knight guy. So I do you think about the Hollow Knight the way, maybe you do think about Hollow Knight the way I think about The Walking Dead in terms of like,
I mean,
a game that fucking touched my soul. You know what I mean? I still, when that song, take us back, oh, take us back, oh, take us. Like, I remember fucking rolling credits and crying in the IGN demo room. Like, I remember that shit.
I remember the ending of episode 5 and like that getting me, right? The decision that you had to make as Clementine and me, like, that was one of the few moments in video games that has gotten me that emotional. And yeah, like, even when you think about what Walking Dead in general did for like adventure games, right? Point and click narrative games, and then also episodic games in general. Because I think that was, I think without, in the way that, like, you know, I was talking about Gone Home, without Gone Home, I don't know if you get Firewatch. Without Walking Dead, like, do you get Life is Strange? Do you get the amount of episodic games that we get nowadays?
100%.
I don't know if you do you get like the Hitman games being episodic? Do you get all that? I don't know.
We're talking about, you know, the darlings of this, right? And it is that thing where, like, Hollow Knight, you know, is a great game. And, like, you know, characters aside and yada, 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 Hollow Knight is a great game, period, obviously. But, like, The Walking Dead, like, changed the trajectory of these kinds of games. Did Hollow Knight do that for its Metroidvanias? No, it's a great Metroidvania, right? Like a million other ones on this list.
Sure.
All right, Walking Dead advances. Fuck everybody.
Janet
We're in
is
so much
avoiding
trouble now.
all the smoke. Janet's
Oh,
like,
it doesn't
I'm gonna
matter.
say-
She's here for this crime.
Janet's like, I'm gonna say the least as possible because I don't want these.
I didn't play a lot of Hollow Knight, and I didn't play Telltale: The Walking Dead, so I don't care. I'll fight other
Yeah,
other
I would
battles
have
I need to
assumed you
fight.
play The Walking Dead. I think you might
No,
like
but
that
here's
game.
the thing: like, do I need to now?
Yes.
Like, is it gonna
Yes,
still hit?
You still do. You still do.
If you say it still
really
hits,
do.
then you can advance.
That's
Let me find
The
out I
Walking
play
Dead
it
is
and
still one of
it's-
those games
it's
that I
dry.
wish I could neuralize myself on and play again. Like, that would
Okay,
be
well,
one of those
I'm
games
gonna
for
do
sure.
that. You will do that when I play it.
Okay,
'Cause
great.
our minds are.
I want
like-
lots of text messages. I want lots of text
Sure.
messages about what's going on, where it's going on.
Yeah.
Next, Nobody Saves the
Yes.
World versus Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Agreed.
Hell yeah! All right.
I thought you were gonna say nobody, Janet.
No, definitely not. It's funny because I love Sayonara Wild Hearts. It's like one of my favorite games. Nobody Saves the World. It was funny because I saw it against Sayonara. I'm like, there's no way Sayonara doesn't advance because you guys don't like Nobody Saves the World. Like, I like it the most, and I'm not picking it, so I don't think it's gonna make it out of here. But I'm like, maybe you hate Sayonara Wild Hearts because I know some people that really don't like. Some people don't like that game. But
It
they
didn't
are
live up to
wrong.
my expectations of it, but I enjoyed it all the same.
Yeah.
I still listen to that soundtrack, man.
Great soundtrack.
yeah.
Oh my god, no, I'm not taking away from that. Please.
Beginning
Oh my
again
God.
still rings in my ear. and it has Claire de Lune in it. Any game that has Claire de Lune is
okay. Actually, Claire de Lune, I'm fucking done with Claire de Lune. Claire de Lune is it's everywhere, and it's because of like it's in the ocean.
We have 15 minutes. We can't argue about Claire de Lune.
That's right.
No Man's Sky versus I'm sorry, Rocket League versus Nidhogg.
Rocket League
because of the vibes, but I like Nidhogg better. I don't like the soccer car thing. It's too floaty for me. Yeah, I'll score about Nidhogg all day.
Nidhogg is an amazing game that I really, really enjoy. But
I got no notes for Nidhogg.
Rocket League was able to pull me in, even though I'm not like that guy at all. Like,
Rocket League is one of the best soccer games this period. Like it's in some ways it's more of a soccer game than even the FIFA games are, just in terms of positioning and like the physics of hitting the ball in the right way and like the team coordination with your teammates of like, hey, you get back, I'll get like Rocket League is a like a perfect storm of mechanics and like physics and all that stuff. It just works supremely well, and
a great PlayStation Plus success story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of like the PlayStation darling part of it and all that jazz, and like how much fun that was to play and the way it took over, and to see Psyonix go from such a niche developer to making like the biggest thing going at the time was incredible. But I think Rocket League deserves all its flowers, and I vote that too. So there you go. No Man's Sky versus Bugsnax.
This is a matchup that should never happen in any conversation. This is the only time you'll have this kind of conversation of Bugsnax versus No Man's Sky, and I honestly don't know.
I mean, for me personally, I'm voting No Man's Sky. Like No Man's Sky again.
Feet.
I enjoyed. Oh yeah, I got my bungers over here too. I enjoyed. Well, I mean, obviously.
I don't think anything's been procedurally generated that looks as good as this bunger right here is the thing.
I obviously adore Bugsnax, and that's a Pop Agenda game too. My wife's company, by the way. They helped publish it. But I would vote No Man's Sky because what No Man's Sky launched as, obviously the hype train up to it, enjoyed the game at launch, and then obviously watched it get flogged and destroyed for all the things it wasn't. And then they put their heads down. They kept working on that game. They put out update after update. And like every time I come back to that game, and I've done it, 3 or 4 times now with years in between, it's always amazing what they've done and how great that game is. And even this year, right earlier, I played it for like a week or whatever, and I was having a great time, and it holds up. Bugsnax is great as well, but Bugsnax is a game that I played and finished and really haven't thought about again. But No Man's Sky, I still think about it every so often. I'm like, I should go back to that. I still want the bigger ship. I had a checklist on my phone of the things I was working on, like No Man's Sky. And No Man's Sky is this giant, expansive game that is doing all these incredible things. But
Bugsnax is like really fun, and I love it a lot. But also, like, I think when we're talking about the kind of brackets this is, right, and the kind of competition, I think Bugsnax is one of the ones where it's like I love this, but I think even like the indie darling term is one that I don't know if I would apply to Bugsnax. Like,
really?
Yeah, it's a great.
I totally would. It was so like associated with PlayStation 2.
And the song and the PlayStation 5 launch and everything else, like.
And I guess context is context, right? And so it's all factual. But like, I feel like so much of it was circumstantial, where it was at the PlayStation 5 reveal. It had the really cool song. It was part of PS Plus at the launch of PlayStation 5, and so like. PlayStation and the studio did every single thing possible to get that game in front of people, but then like since then, I feel like Bugsnax just hasn't had like conversation around it. I remember even after doing the DLC preview, I was like, yeah, the DLC seems cool, and then you asked the question of, cool, are you gonna play it? And I was like, no, I don't think I'm gonna play it.
But that's
like,
true
did any of us play the
DLC? But that's true of most DLC.
I started
statistically, people do not play DLC like that unless it's like maybe like an ongoing game like No Man's Sky, where it's inherently. By design, you're supposed to be playing that game.
No Man's Sky advances.
That's fine.
No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Next up is Fez versus Hades.
Hades.
Crushed it. I Fez was one of those games I know people really had juice for, and I remember finally getting it on PlayStation, playing, and I was like, I just don't like this.
Really? I like it's fun to turn the cubes. Here's the thing.
It's fun to turn the cubes.
Though I get lost as fuck in that game.
I never beat it because I got lost. Like that.
Yeah, me too.
And I know that's the point of the game, is that it's like mazy or whatever, but I never beat it because I was just like, I don't know where the fuck
I went deep into that, and then Hades is freaking really great. Hades. And they have a great approach to difficulty with Hades. Hades is dope.
Hades is super special, and we're gonna talk more about it. So Hades advances, and we'll get there. Bastion versus Journey.
This is a fun one.
What?
Yeah, I don't like either of them.
But yeah, I don't like either of them really.
Yeah, I don't like either of them.
Let me just vote Bastion and let's move on.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Sure.
I fucking adore Bastion. I reviewed it. I remember
Journey's
reviewing it on Xbox
days.
and having such a great time with it and all these different things. And I was so excited when it came to PlayStation. And I think that game is just fucking incredible. Journey is also incredible from when we played it back in the day and running around and chirping at each other and all that stuff. But like,
yeah, when you chirp, Shorty chirps back.
Yeah. Like I loved Bastion, or I'm sorry, I loved Journey at the time, but like Bastion is one of those like, and I think that's what happened with Bastion actually, where they put it on a PlayStation. I played it on Vita, and I might have played it on console for a little bit. Never finished it again, but it's one of those games that I will buy Bastion over and over again and play over and over again.
Sure.
Whereas Journey was a one and done for me, and it was like a super touching thing at the moment, but I still think Bastion's more fun.
Yep.
Bastion advances. That will get us in trouble as well. Inside versus Outer Wilds.
Inside,
baby.
Inside's like super goated. In Outer Wilds, I know some people really loved it and it changed their lives. I played it, I beat it. I see what it does that's interesting, but it did not change my life. Inside is
one of the very few examples of like what I think is a perfect video game. Just every single action has an animation. Like the puzzles are so good. Like
it's incredible.
Atmosphere, the presentation, it's incredible. From
even the end is kind of good as well, which is very hard to do.
The ending is incredible for all the physics of the thing you become in that game. It's just like, God, that sticks in your head once you finish that game. It's like, I can't believe I just did
that game's really
and the way that like
awesome.
The thing animates, and once you like pick up a box with it, the way it passes the box from hand to hand.
It's also
incredible.
Like just shout out to like a short game being fucking fire. Like that 100%. Game is that game's amazing.
And then the final one for the Triangle Division is Fat Princess versus Guacamelee.
Guacamelee.
Yeah. Love Fat Princess. What a great time that was back in the day. They're ganking our princess. Like I adore that game and had a great time with it. But Guacamelee is such a fun game and so well done. And again, what Drinkbox does so well that you have to give it to them. So now it's time to double back and put on our boots. We need to get, we need to get going. We need to get going here. So we'll go back to Circle, ladies and gentlemen, where it is Dead Cells versus Stardew Valley. I would say Dead Cells.
I would also say Dead Cells.
Janet thinks.
I mean, I think you just. Well, you got 2-1, so it's just Dead Cells then.
Do you want to go out? You want to go out there and try to be a Stardew Valley hero?
The thing is, I haven't made my farm like that. You know what I mean? What do I have to say? I didn't fucking marry anybody on that game. So like but I feel like it's the more iconic game, and it has like a longer tail, I think. But
Dead Cells
has so much DLC.
Yeah, people still love that. Yeah. I mean, Dead Cells, we have the votes. Me and Bless have the votes, so it's over.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, so
if you fought passionately for Stardew,
no, because I didn't care about it like that. Like I just haven't gotten into it like that. I haven't put the time in.
Celeste versus What Remains of Edith Finch.
Fuck! This is so awful. This is like the worst thing ever.
I know my answer, but it hurts me to say it.
What Remains of Edith Finch?
No, Celeste.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an easier sell. But I feel like and Celeste is easier to like beat out other games because it has more power, because it has the gameplay and the story and the music. But I feel like What Remains of Edith Finch is just like a masterclass in walking sim, what it does with the fantastical realism, how trippy it is, how cool it is. How good it feels to swing in that game. You can get on a swing and that shit feels amazing. The climbing as a cat does not feel good though. Don't do that part. It's trippy, it's heartwarming, it has mystery, and I feel like they do kind of stick the landing on how they tie everything all together. So yeah, to me that game, when I see these two games, that is the first game that I'm inclined to say, but I kind of win and lose either way because I love both of those games a lot, and I probably would give them both 10s. So
my argument, right, for Celeste is in a genre that is almost as old as video games. When you want to talk about 2D platformers, Celeste finds ways to innovate and take that genre to the next level, and that's both in terms of narrative and story. Like think about how many platformers do narrative period, let alone do a narrative that is so personal and that is so like, hey, we're going to talk about real topics, we're going to touch on depression, we're going to touch on anxiety, and we're going to take this platformer that has a setup that is as simple as you're playing as Maddie, who's climbing this mountain, and we're going to metaphorically tie it to the idea of climbing your insecurities, right? Climbing over your anxiety, climbing over your thing, right? And like
your mental hurdles.
Yeah, and like it has that, but it also has this brutal difficulty that is framed very well because it is screen to screen, right? Like no challenge is too long or too unfeasible for you to get through, right? Everything is just a screen. If you can get through the next screen, it might take you 10 tries, but you'll make it. And if you can't make it, hey, we have this assist mode. And like the assist mode was the assist mode that really set things into gear in terms of even more games taking accessibility more seriously and putting that stuff more at the forefront.
It's the answer to everybody who's like, oh, well, we wanted the game to be difficult, so we didn't want to take away from it by putting it. It's like Celeste did that. Celeste did that and made it. I mean, I'm voting Celeste here, and I do love what remains of Edith Finch. Celeste is for all the reasons you just talked about, Bless. Where I think it is the fact that the gameplay is merged so well with the story, and even like I'm not talking about them just giving you the story in the gameplay. It's the fact that the gameplay is the story of you climbing it. Let alone the fact that yes, the screen by screen thing is what made it approachable to me. Somebody who does not like those kind of challenges and does not like getting their face rubbed in the shit, right? The fact that it was the ability of going, sorry, someone's sound busters. The fact that you're able to get in there and, have these moments. And then if it was too hard, turn it down and challenge and not be made, oh, you're playing on baby mode, you're doing whatever. You still get the adventure. Like Celeste is a masterclass. And that's not to take away from you, Finch. We're like you're talking about. We're talking about
we're in round 2
I do
now.
think even though it's clear that What Remains is lost, I do want to shout out that's also what I like about What Remains. That I think so often when you have a walking sim, the like classic thing that gets tossed out is like, oh, well, I'm not really like playing anything. I think it does such a good job tying in actual mechanics into what you're doing. Like you're not just walking around a house learning stuff. You're doing that, but then you also like go into these like surreal or past scenes or memories, and now it's like a camera game. Now it's like a platformer game. Now it's like a simulator, or you're steering a boat, or you're like a baby in a bathtub, or you're all these different things. And I think the way it manages to take transformation and make that meaningful on so many different levels. I mean, you want to talk about like how good it is to walk around a fucking house. There's no house I'd rather walk around in than the What Remains of Edith Finch house. It is so freaking cool and smart. And I don't know if I'll ever play a walking sim that's better than this game. And I know that like it is true, Bless, I love your argument of how impressive Celeste is in the context of its history, but I don't think that necessarily means that What Remains gets docked because there's not more in its genre. Like I still think it is probably the best in its genre, and I struggle to imagine anything being better than What Remains of Edith Finch.
My favorite walking sim.
It is the inside of walking sims, and that's why that's my vote at this moment. But I can
this
go
could
either
be
way.
the finals, honestly. Like this is one of those matchups
and you guys,
that could be the finals.
Like I said, I love Celeste, so like we can have Celeste go on. But I just want to shout that out. It's like such a freaking fantastic game.
Celeste has gone on. Going Home is a better walking simulator than Edith Finch. Next up in the challenge is Moss versus Toem. VR versus Black and White. I vote Moss, and this is a tough one. I love both these games. I've talked both these games to death on many a show. Moss is such a heartwarming children's book come to life, and you getting sucked in that and reading into that and stuff. I think Moss is better than Toem.
I have no say. I don't have a vote here.
Sure, I'm cool with the Moss going over Toem. Moss is cool. I like Toem, but I'm not like obsessed with it. Yeah, it's cool, and it's like it took me a long time to beat it, which I think maybe says something about it didn't like capture me like crazy. But I like it, and it is absolutely worth beating because the ending is so freaking cool in that game. Slay the Spire versus Among Us.
I mean,
Slay the Spire is a better game.
Oh, I disagree so much.
But I don't be decking it out like that. But I definitely don't fuck with let's do some boring thing and then wait to lie to my friend. Like I just don't find that enjoyable.
The gameplay is the social dynamic.
I would recommend for this one we go to the chat to be the decider.
I have a big bias against those kind of like multiplayer experiences. You guys know historically I don't play online multiplayer shit because I don't tend to like it. And Among Us is just another one that I don't like.
I say go to the chat on this one because, Slay the Spire is one I've only briefly touched, and Among Us I don't like. But I think it's just a personal bias. So I'm putting it to the chat. Bless has voted. You voted Among Us, right, Bless?
I voted Among Us, strongly.
Okay. Well, we'll let chat decide. Chat is voting right now to see where they're going to come down with and have the winner go through.
Maybe one day, Among Us will be my Fortnite. One day I'll just be super into it, but I don't think so.
I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I like Among Us, but it doesn't have that.
But like, don't at me when you see me on a cherry stream playing Among Us because I'm doing it for the culture.
And that's the exact same reason I haven't downloaded it, or I'm sorry, I haven't deleted it from computer either. It's because I know I'm going to do some charity stream where I need to do it or whatever. It's tight though. Slay the Spire is pulling ahead right now, 56% of the vote. we'll let it go a little bit longer here to see if anybody else has something to say. But I do believe,
and I have had good times playing them. Like when I'm, I'm not totally fake. When I'm laughing, I'm not just fucking pretending to have a good time. But just generally,
for
like
charity,
I
don't hate this.
I find the act of it just not that. Yeah, like I'm gonna pretend to fix this wire that I don't even know where the wire is. Like I don't know.
Well, that's
Slay the
like,
Spire has won the poll and will advance. Slay the Spire moves
for
on.
the quick argument for Among Us, even though I know it's lost. It was like for me the tasks are just busy work to where like your attention isn't supposed to be on the tasks. Like I think they're meant to be monotonous. That way you are paying attention to positioning and where people are at and like the last thing you did, right? And like they have to be. I think they have to be a bit monotonous and easy to do, so that way when you are making the arguments, you can be like, oh, I was doing X, Y, and Z. Is your room falling apart, Greg? What just happened?
No, Jen just dropped a salad dressing down the stairs.
Oh, okay. I thought it was another situation of like a painting falling down.
No, don't worry about that.
But yeah, like there's that, and then also like in terms of the impact of Among Us, right? Among Us was my nightly game that I played for months during that time of the pandemic, and like I just have such a good connection with that game, man. Like that's a game that I'm gonna.
So you're just a liar, is what you're.
No, because I'm good at Among Us. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
We move to the cross bracket. Oh, I guess you're the first people to step into the Sweet 16 are Dead Cells versus Celeste, Moss versus Slay the Spire. Moving down to the cross division, we have Gone Home versus Disco Elysium.
Gone Home.
Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium.
The lightning goes
though.
off at any time, Bless. That's what's
It's
so
tough,
scary. You never know. It's not scripted. That's what makes it so cool.
Janet, I want to hug you right now so bad because of course I'm voting Gone Home. Disco Elysium. No one wants to read a book. Get the fuck out of here.
It has voice acting in the director's cut.
You can. There's actually Nintendo games in the game room if you play on Nintendo.
Exactly. Sorry there.
Oh,
Disco Elysium. Sorry, Lucy James. GameSpot. Get your 10 out of 10 out of here. Gone Home. That mattered. Triforce Powers says put it to the chat. Get the fuck out of here, chat. We don't want to hear your lies.
Listen, I know the people are with me on this one.
Home.
Oh, I know they are too. Oh, I know people are furious about this.
Listen, I'm mad because you guys
prepared to genuflect and let you move on, Disco Elysium. But if I have the vote from Janet, I'm not.
Listen, I'm not mad because you guys are gonna feel the fury. Everybody, if you want to voice your concerns, tweet at Sadboy Barrett on Twitter and let him know how you feel.
The best is that Barrett came in finally to check after whatever show he was doing, and he's just been finally catching up on the bracket. He's so fucking pissed. All right, Gone Home advances. Fuck everybody. Now we're playing with fire, and I love it.
Up next, I don't want to read. I just want to walk. Okay.
It has voice acting. Play the
Pyre versus Super Meat Boy. What is this? Pyre versus Super Meat Boy.
Wait,
Super Meat Boy.
Super Meat Boy got past the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah, it beat
Short Hike.
Short Hike.
What were we on? How did we let that happen? I guess
you were there. You agreed.
I guess did you guys knock me out? Did you guys drug me?
No.
Why would I?
Look it out. Blessing's already trying to wiggle out of all the. I hate he's gonna get
he's got to kill 30 more minutes. He can just leave. Super Meat Boy.
Super Meat Boy. Yeah, Pyre. Pyre is actually I like, but it's the first Super Giant game I didn't love that I didn't actually get into because I'm just not that thing. It's quality made and yada yada yada. That's why I put it over. I think it's a better game than Graceful Explosion. But Super Meat Boy again. I remember when Super Meat Boy dropped. Again, I'm not the challenging. Ran my head into it, and that was a game where I was like, I gotta play this. I loved playing Super Meat Boy, so much fun on that. So yeah,
Super Meat Boy walked so Celeste could run.
Hey, sure. Your next one here in the cross division, Beat Saber versus Cuphead.
Oh, I hate this matchup. I hate this matchup so much.
Remember, this is our bracket. This is presented by PS I Love You. Don't let the world get in your ear.
No, this isn't even about the world. This is about me, because I know Beat Saber. It's Beat Saber.
Beat Saber.
Yeah.
I go Beat Saber too.
And I love Cuphead. I think Cuphead is a 10 out of 10 video game.
It's all coming up, Greg.
I didn't like to shoot in Cuphead. I didn't like how shmuppy it was. I thought it was a platformer, and then I just.
This is just me going off my own personal enjoyment, and
so.
I've Beat Saber.
Also, once you start sidecar in Beat Saber too, you can have all the fun in the world that you want to have.
Dude, when you're playing,
someone that commits those kind of crimes, that is.
When you're doing Drake, nice for what in Beat Saber? Oh, it hits different.
KDA, come on now. Let's have
Beat Saber's the only keeping some people alive. It saves lives getting that motion in there.
Fuck Beat
I know
Saber.
there's tons of people that are like, oh, but Cuphead's a masterpiece, Cuphead's animation, yada yada yada. If you played Beat Saber, you understand. Just the feeling of playing a level in Beat Saber should be enough to sell you on why we fucking love this game so much. It is maybe some of the most fun I've ever had in a video game.
Especially as an indie darling. Something that is popular but maybe doesn't get the respect it deserves. Cuphead has all the flowers in the world. Cuphead has his own Netflix show. You know what I mean? Cuphead is somebody who's broken through the whatever you define
Triple A
indie as.
practically.
And I know that obviously Beat Saber got bought by Meta, but again, we're talking about what it is and where it was.
Yeah,
Beat Saber
our indie bracket. One of them is fucking like published by Xbox. The other is owned by Meta. and you got Hellblade out of here.
Beat Saber advances. Up next, Sifu versus Limbo.
Oh, Limbo.
I would do Limbo as well.
I don't go Sifu.
Sifu.
I would see. Here's what I do. I'll step back as somebody who, again, hasn't even like put. I started Sifu finally, right? Yes, I think. No, I don't even remember. But I know how good Sifu is. That's why I argued how much I don't like Kana versus it. So like, I'll step back and let the chat vote on that one if you want. That way,
I say put it to chat then.
All right.
Because yeah, like, and honestly, like I love Limbo. But I think my love for Limbo is a bit lessened by playing Inside, and Inside just becoming just my darling of Play Dead. In that game, I think taking everything Limbo did and just pushing it further. Limbo's dope as hell game, especially for the time. I think Sifu, when you want to talk about modern indie games, is 100% a darling, right? Like it's doing things that are different, fresh, exciting, fun. The art style is there, the music is there, the combat mechanics are tight, they're there. And yeah, like it's for me, it's the easier of the two to pick.
The chat is going right now, and it is close right now. Sifu has 52% of the vote.
Wow,
right there. If you're watching live on patreon.com/kindafunny games, your vote could change it all. You just have to get off.
I feel like Limbo is a stronger, like it's easier for it to score like a 9 or higher than like Sifu is more of like an 8 to a 9, while Limbo is more like a 9 to a 10. Though I will say I'm not as enamored by Limbo as a lot of people. That's why I wasn't like I didn't say anything when moved on from II Worlds because I'm like, yeah, I guess that is the better game, but like. I don't know. Limbo has really good puzzles, and yeah, I see Barrett with the allegory of grief and death. But you know what? Like, I didn't really. I'll be honest. I didn't really care. Maybe I didn't pick up on it. I wasn't moved by Limbo in any deep way, but I think it's a damn good puzzle game. Yeah. In a way.
I mean, again, it's one of those for what the time and place. Limbo was so special. I think.
Yeah.
And again, I enjoyed it.
Like,
I think Inside's better.
Oh, it's way better, but that's not Limbo's fault. No,
but I'm just saying in terms of like as you move on and you get to something like Sifu right now. By the way, Sifu is 57% of the vote. It's been there a while.
That's crazy. I feel like it should be Limbo.
My thing with Limbo, right?
Should have voted that. Should have had an opinion.
It's easier to get with the Limbo being easier to get 9 or a 10, right? Is that still true? Because I at the time I think yes. Like playing Limbo in 2010 or whenever it came out, 1000%. That was a masterpiece video game. Limbo, I think, for how far video games have come in the last decade, I can imagine putting it on right now and going, oh yeah, no, this is a really good puzzle platformer, but like obviously like the animations here seem off, like the puzzles here could be better. Like I could see ways in which that game could be better, in ways that Inside perfected that formula of a game.
We move. Sifu advances. So from the circle, or I'm sorry,
nothing
from the
is sacred.
Cross now your Sweet 16. Your next 8 of no, I fucked that up, didn't I? No, your next 4 of the Sweet 16 are Gone Home versus Super Meat Boy, Beat Saber versus Sifu, but we'll get back to them in a minute. For now, let's go to Square, continuing our counterclockwise journey. Overcooked versus Chicory, Janet Garcia, your babies fighting babies.
Chicory.
Wow, I would say Overcooked, but
that's crazy. Yeah.
We've talked about this. Like, I just didn't love Chicory.
Yeah, I just forget. It's hard to hear someone say something like that. It's so egregious.
I think I love Overcooked, and I think everything we said before about what a great party game it is and how it has no business being as fun as it is and yada, yada, yada.
We should have played when I was there because Maggie also was Overcooked.
Oh, man, I'm always down for more Overcooked.
Yeah, we could have cooked it up. We'll cook it up next time, but yeah.
Chicory advances in that one. Next is Stray versus Undertale.
Oh.
Undertale.
I mean, yeah, that's fine.
Bullet.
I did not enjoy Undertale, but I didn't enjoy Stray that. Why?
But it all got fucked up.
But I would never argue that Stray is better than Undertale.
Yeah,
for the record.
It all got fucked up with me and Undertale. Like I didn't have a chance. It's fine.
Fall Guys versus Resogun.
Fall Guys.
Yeah, sure.
It's tough. It's a tough one.
Because
I do think Resogun is like this synonymous PlayStation 4 indie for where it launched and what it did. But I think Fall Guys, again, is such a movement that continues of just like, again, another great PlayStation Plus game, too, that launched and, really turned heads and stuff. I would go Fall Guys again as well, because I think that just has a bigger impact. And I think for a darling, I would look at that and those little cute beans, even though their costumes aren't that great, but they're getting better, yada, yada, yada.
Really, the costumes I feel like have really been hitting lately.
It's literally, if you go back to the stream we did with Fall Guys, I go on this rant about how shitty the costumes are, and then they really started putting out their licensed stuff every week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, you know what? Cool.
They took it personal.
Severed versus The Witness.
The Witness.
I guess The Witness, yeah.
Begrudgingly, I would say the same.
Yeah.
I mean, if I wanted to put aside the Greg Millerness of what I'd want to play, The Witness advances. So from the square bracket, your Sweet 16 entrants are Chicory versus Undertale, Fall Guys versus The Witness. We move back to the triangle bracket, what some of the people are calling the hardest bracket, The Walking Dead versus Sayonara Wild Hearts. The Walking Dead would be the Greg Miller vote.
I'm gonna go Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Blessing, we turn our lonely eyes to you. A game with a great soundtrack and great visuals and a shirt I still wear to this day, or a game that changed its genre and is still talked about from a story perspective and gameplay choices to this day.
We could stop talking about today, Blessing, with your vote. Stop the Discord and go with Sayonara Wild
Stop
Hearts.
end the Discord here and go side. No,
A game
this is actually tough for me because I really
a
love
magical
Sayonara.
experience. That has
And
no
then another
flaws
game
except
that's a
for the
music video.
end. The ending part with the VR thing, it was not as good as everything else. But you don't remember that part. What you remember is flying through the streets on your motorcycle and dealing with when you fall out of the freaking window in that game, and then you start going. And I think it has like great balance of like fun rhythm game and not needing to be obsessed with score. It lets you maintain flow state despite how well you may be doing at the rhythm game element of it. That game hits on every friggin' platform it's ever come to. It's freaking fantastic, and it is. I constantly listen to that soundtrack because the game is the soundtrack. I know you cannot divorce the two. Exactly. Begin again. I listen to that so much. Isaiah fucking hates that song because I never stop playing it. Yes. Oh my god.
Oh, this is so tough. I love both of these video games, but I do think I have to take everything into consideration.
Colors. This is gonna get flagged on YouTube really bad.
Yeah, that's for sure.
If you wanted to bring music into the equation, I had to bring music into the equation.
What you were doing? Yeah, you need to pull up the. We need to edit that, but
was it
maybe doing that?
Ducky in episode like 3 or 4 where like
Kenny's son,
where it's spoilers for Walking Dead. Where like you have to decide if he's gonna live or die, or like if Kenny kills him or not.
Yeah,
it's been so long since
if you
I played
do
that
it
game.
or if Kenny.
If you do it or Kenny does it. I remember just struggling over that
game,
decision.
man.
Goodbye.
I'm going Walking Dead.
Long. Come on.
I gotta go Walking Dead. I'm sorry.
Thank you for making the right
tough.
choice. That's no disrespect to Sayonara Wild Hearts, ladies and gentlemen.
Remember episode 2 where there were the cannibals?
Dude, oh my god.
Oh,
running down the stairs, dude. Oh my god.
I might have to play Walking Dead again.
Clem.
Oh, so good.
I never, honestly, I know this might be shocking. I never finished season 2. I got halfway through Walking Dead season 2.
That's not shocking. I feel like they had so much juice in season 1, and it was so and like following that up was impossible.
That's my thing is I was like, I just
drop
doesn't have
off
that
somewhere.
season 1 feel anymore.
Man, I read the comic book too. They have a new trade paperback out about Clem, like picking up the story or whatever.
Recently?
I got complaints. Yeah, I got complaints.
Oh wow.
Daniel Olsen isn't dead, but he's rolling in his grave right now. Or the Sayonara Wild
Sorry,
Hearts.
Daniel Olsen. You made music. You made incredible music.
Rocket League versus No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky.
I'm going Rocket League.
Yeah, Rocket League, I guess.
I would go Rocket League as well.
Begrudgingly.
I think the argument can be made, of course, that No Man's Sky is the bigger, better game. It's done so much. Yeah. Rocket League's been fire since launch. And again, it's trying to do what it's trying to do. And you want to talk about an indie darling? I think that No Man's Sky is the indie success story, the indie redemption. But again, darling, I think Rocket League, again, it's hard to think about it now because it's epic and it's a juggernaut. But like, again, I remember how crazy it was to, I forget, it must have been whatever. Maybe it was an RTX or whatever, or maybe it was just a gauntlet. But I remember going there and like everybody, like iJustine and Freddie Wong and all these people were like, I have to go play Rocket League right now. Like I have to get back to it. Yada yada. I was like, this fucking small game from Psyonix? All right, that's awesome. Hades versus Bastion.
Hades.
Yeah.
Even as much as I love Bastion. I mean, it's Supergiant versus Supergiant. You can't lose, but come on now. Inside versus Guacamelee.
Inside. It's not even close.
It's not even. Greg is like making a face like it's a battle.
It's so far away.
It's so
that I
not
feel
a
like
battle.
This was, yeah, it's not even close.
There are two games that I would tell you I think are great and that I love, and I need to think about it. I'm sorry, all right? God.
You should be sorry.
I'm sorry. I vote inside, though. I vote inside. So advancing to your final four to the Sweet 16 here. The next four participants in the Sweet 16 are The Walking Dead versus Rocket League, Hades versus Inside. We go back to the circle bracket for this to decide who will go to the final four. Dead Cells or Celeste?
Celeste.
It hurts, but it is Celeste.
I agree 100%. Again, not taking away from Dead Cells, but
when you shoot through the like little galaxy goo, come on.
Oh yeah. We're
Yeah.
gonna talk a lot about Celeste, I think.
Yeah.
In the next couple rounds.
Well, we'll see about that. All right. Moss versus Slay the Spire.
Slay the Spire is probably the better game, but
I would
I
vote
just don't know.
Moss.
I don't know how to do the
I
cards.
mean, I like.
But again, I
Slay the
haven't played a
Spire.
lot of Slay.
I played a bit of Slay, and I've not played any of Moss. But hearing you guys talk about Moss, it would make me go Moss.
And it's one of those two, with all due respect to both Moss and Slay the Spire. I think Celeste is about to beat them next round. So
yeah,
I'm not
100%. Who do you want Celeste to beat? Is the question.
Well, then right here, we'll just say it while we're here. Celeste beats Moss and moves to the
Honestly,
final
yeah,
four.
we can save time.
Oh yeah, sure,
Let's-
yeah.
I mean, come on. Who are we kidding?
Yeah,
all right.
whatever
Celeste,
you
come
want
on.
there. It's
100%.
you know, whether it's a rat or a card, or I don't know. I didn't play Slay the Spire.
This is fun.
Gone
Does-
Home
are you the
versus
Spire?
Super
I
Meat
don't
Boy.
know. I don't fucking know what's going on.
You're trying
Gone
to
Home
slay
versus
the Spire.
Super Meat Boy. It's a
I
very
would vote Gone
platformer
Home.
heavy though.
But I do love Super Meat Boy.
I really love both these games. I would go Gone Home over Super Meat Boy.
I appreciate your service, Blessing. The check's in the mail.
Damn it.
Man,
Thank you.
Super Meat Boy's I think better than Gone Home though.
But is it the indie darling? It doesn't even matter because me and Bless have the votes and it's over and we're moving on.
Fine.
Beat Saber versus Sifu. Beat
Beat
Saber.
Saber.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to go to Beat Saber. I think internally it will be more of a back and forth, but I'm like kind of in the middle between both these, and Beat Saber is just
Your
very, very
Plane
fun.
is coming.
We can do it if you want. We can decide the final four here. We already have Celeste out of the circle bracket. So before we move from the cross
Sure.
bracket, Gone Home versus Beat Saber.
Gone Home.
Beat Saber. I'm going Beat Saber, baby. Greg, have some fun. Join me on the fun train.
I am joining.
about it.
I'm joining the one and only Janet Garcia on the fun
Damn
train and voting Gone Home.
Yeah.
Come on. I
Oh,
love
'cause
Beat
what
Saber, but we're talking about an indie game that like is a darling that is like you still talk about and like.
I
People
didn't
still talk
let
about Beat
Super
Saber?
Meat Boy.
I know
get
they do.
thrown
I
to
know
the
they do. It's a
shredder.
bad argument. As I was making it, I was like, I still fucking talk about Beat Saber all the time. I'm still going with
Who
Gone
talks
Home.
about Gone
though,
Home?
goddammit.
How often do we bring up Gone Home still, actually? No
We
offense to Gone Home.
We talk about it all the time. I feel
No
How
like.
many times have I told this fucking story about fucking doing it on?
But that's
I
Greg and
I went
Miller.
and hugged my ex-girlfriend. Like, come on, how many times?
I
have
feel
talked
like we're the
I
Gone
had
Home
Gone
support
Home
squad.
art
We're the
hanging in
cheerleaders.
my
We're
room.
making
I
the
had
show,
things.
though.
What other podcast is out there still talking about Gone Home? I feel like we're the
I don't
one.
know. I mean, I feel
I
like
guarantee
if
that,
people
you know, they
stepped their
just
shit up,
launched-
they'd be talking about Gone Home more. I think.
They just launched the KindaFunny database or whatever, the unofficial KindaFunny database. You seen this thing?
That's the infected, yeah.
Yeah, that's the infected thing. I bet if you could go through there, I guarantee Gone Home has been talked about more on KindaFunny content than Beat Saber.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But
I think so.
That's kind of funny.
I still can't believe
Wait,
you guys
it's
didn't take
presented
Super
by
Meat Boy.
Guess what?
KindaFunny. What do you
Like-
want me to do this?
Like, guess what? Jet Force Gemini has been talked about a lot too, and Donkey Kong 64. Should that have any bearing on the popularities of these things? Beat Saber has been robbed.
Your first two to enter
right.
into the final four are Celeste and Gone Home, but we'll get back to that matchup. Instead, we'll move to Square. Chicory versus Undertale.
Chicory.
Undertale.
I'm going to sequester myself, and we can go to the poll for
Take it to the
chat
audience.
for this one.
Sure.
Raj, what were you going to say there?
No, I was just saying I feel like that's the right choice to put in the chat.
I know you guys are gonna
Yeah.
fail me because of the memes and the Tumblr, just because like Tumblr doesn't hit anymore like that. So Chicory's not on Tumblr.
The votes
people-
are we have been posted. You pick between Chicory or Undertale to decide who will go.
The Undertale
final
tumblers.
four.
let me tell
Chicory
you.
is
Oh, no, the
a
leading.
wonderfully balanced game. It's fire to play. It has amazing writing. The art stuff is cool. The side stuff is cool. Undertale has probably more layers, but are you actually getting to those layers? Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. Chicory is a better packaged
Maybe
experience
are,
to me.
Are you getting to those layers? I don't know. I've not played
Yeah.
through it.
No, I did play through it. I did
Oh,
play
you did?
through it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And guess what? I didn't feel fucking anything. Okay. I'm sorry. I looked in the mirror and I saw it was me all along and I didn't give a shit. Okay. That's my truth.
Wow, you
Well,
would
here's the
invoke
thing.
one of the most powerful scenes in the video game.
Undertale, my beef with Undertale is I feel like it's a game where you have to really break down all of the layers to really get something deep out of it. And I don't think you need to do that with Chicory. Also, I will say here, I do not like the gameplay in Undertale. The shmup stuff with your little dot moving around, it's not fun to play.
I disagree
Deltarune,
heavily.
I do like the gameplay of. So I'm actually feeling, I'm enjoying my time with Deltarune a lot more than
I should
Undertale.
put Deltarune on here. I forgot about that.
Deltarune's not done.
Yeah,
We
it's
don't need to touch
unfinished, you're right.
Deltarune yet. But yeah, that's my thing. Also, Chicory has fire music too. So that's my thing with Undertale and why I didn't connect with it on a deep level. Like, I did not enjoy the gameplay. I tried doing the pacifist run. I messed it up. I had to, I think, watch the end of it on YouTube. Again, you can argue it was all...
Roger, cut her
all
microphone.
fucked up.
Undertale is one with 78% of the vote. Undertale advances.
Yeah, I was letting go. I was like, you're gonna try and talk through the audience and try to get those votes, and I'm like, listen, this Undertale is Undertale.
Well, I know most of the audience
We
probably
get the
has
army.
Plenty of everyone's played
Undertale is the
most people have
BTS of
PlayStation
video
3.
games. We're unstoppable.
Please don't invoke BTS here. I do not want to deal with those comments. Like, I can...
Undertale has
I'm not-
moved
I'm not
on, and
aware.
that
We
means
have
we have
nothing
to
but respect
figure
for
out
BTS
Fall
fans.
Guys versus The Witness. Fall Guys versus The Witness.
I just have to say before people choose the witness that I was talking to Snowbike Mike, XCast host, and he was telling me that I need to push for Fall Guys because he said you jabronis will not vote for it. And then he kept on saying that it was the best indie game of all time, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to
Oh,
vote
that's
any of that.
first of all,
but
he went too far. Okay,
I just need to say that. Just,
He flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, he was
Yes.
very close to the sun.
Bless, I'm sorry, Roger, I'll do it. I'm throwing it out there. I would vote Fall Guys on this one.
Good.
Indie darling.
I can. Oh
Fall
man,
Guys barely
here's the-
feels
I have
indie
so much.
anymore.
I have so much bias against Fall Guys.
We
I feel
said
like.
we weren't going to do this. We said when it launched
Listen.
what we would judge it against.
But then are you judging it based off of the launch version or the Fall Guys that still exists? Because the Fall Guys that still exists has the backing of Epic Games. All right.
said
Let's talk about indie darling. Jonathan Blow made this game with a box of scraps by himself.
in a cave.
In a cave.
Yeah, and he lost
built
his
it
mind
from
doing it
scratch.
too. Okay, so
He
labor
did.
of
He
love
peed in a
here.
bottle. He put it in the game for some reason. Have you guys seen the ending of The Witness? It's
Did
fucking,
he?
fucking wild.
No, did he? Okay, no, okay. Anyway,
There's a pee bottle in The Witness.
it's
Yes.
it's rough because with Fall Guys I don't have much to say. Like it's not really my kind of game. And also I tried playing with Isaiah online and we had like a horrible time with like loading and trying to like queue up together. And when you do duos, if only one of you gets through, then the other person's just gone. I just don't like a lot of my Fall Guys experience has not been great.
So
But
you're voting Witness? Even though you're a
I
big
would defer to
dum-dum?
Blessing because he knows both the games more than I do, and I have my big multiplayer biases. I feel like.
And I would personally go The Witness, even though I love Fall Guys, and like I don't even think it's
Then
like
I would
that big of a gap, but-
I would go The Witness as well then. For that
Sorry,
reason.
Mike. I'm so sorry, Mike.
Sorry, Mike.
You let Snow Mike down, guys. I hope you're happy.
No, it doesn't make me happy.
It won't be the last time. that
Do we want to settle this then while we're here? Undertale versus
Yeah.
Witness for the final four?
This is Bless versus Bless. Figure it out,
Yeah,
Bless.
this is me versus me.
Take
I
it
would go.
away.
Honestly, I would go Undertale for me.
I figured you would. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a TI versus
And honestly,
TIP moment.
what is coming up? You know what? I think this is gonna be my last time to argue for Undertale. Because I think whatever ends up going to get up against it is gonna beat it. Undertale is a fantastic video game. Janet alluded to it, but like it has the feels, it has the layers, it has the characters, it has such good writing, and I would say some of the best comedy writing I've ever read / experienced in a video game. I just think the sense of humor there hits so well. The soundtrack is one of the best soundtracks I've ever listened to in a video game. Toby Fox is in his bag, and Toby, and like, I mean, obviously, you know, the industry agrees. He's making music for like Pokemon and other games as well. So like he's gotten that recognition there, and also he's had the orchestra and shit. But yeah, like the Undertale soundtrack is so magnificent, and I do like the shoot 'em up combat. Like I understand that's not for everyone, and I understand like the gripes with it, especially during a couple of boss fights that get pretty intense. I'm thinking of the I forget her name, but like the
spider?
The spider, yeah.
Yeah. I
Her
didn't
boss
get the cookie, and I had to do it, and I couldn't do it. That's why I
Yeah.
stopped playing. I had to watch the rest on YouTube.
But as somebody who does like shmup gameplay, oh my god, that shit hit so well for me, right? I thought it added such a great additional layer to that turn-based JRPG style combat that made it even more engaging on, you know, both levels, the level of, you know, figuring out what to do or figuring out what to choose, then also like actually carrying that stuff out. I think that's so well designed. The puzzles for each enemy, figuring out how to spare each enemy is so well done. And yeah, like when you're talking about the indie darlings, it just has so much heart. Like it has like some of the most heart that I've experienced personally, like in a video game like this that I love. And so
We're talking about Undertale still, right?
talking about Undertale still. Shout out to
Undertale is the chat's with you, 77% of the vote. So Undertale can advance to the final four. We then move to Triangle to decide who will join the final four here. We'll start obviously to the Elite Eight. The Walking Dead versus Rocket League.
Ooh,
This
is
y'all.
tough.
We
It
could be
is
talking about
tough.
signing our wild hearts, but y'all put us here, so let's go ahead.
Well, then it would have been easy to roll in for Rocket League, but now Walking Dead versus Rocket League. That's where it gets difficult. That's where it gets tough.
Ooh, this is really tough, honestly. But I go Rocket League. I think Rocket League just has the stuff. It has indie darling conversation. You know, I think it dominates that portion of it. But then also, it's just such a well fucking designed game. Like the fact that they're able to pull this off with flying colors and like have it be this thing of you're playing it on the casual side and anybody can jump in and anybody can have fun. I had my non-gamer friends hit me up to play that game with me at launch, but then it goes on to become this esports game where people are literally flying in the air to like get these incredible hits on the ball and like really take advantage of the physics of that game. Rocket League has been such a fantastic success story, and that is why it's my pick.
I see the argument. I do. But again, Walking Dead, you know, I see the chat. Indie Ronan says Walking Dead isn't indie anymore, I feel. That's beside the point, though. We're talking about where Walking Dead was when Telltale did it. And when Telltale was a nothing independent studio that was working out licensed and making adventure games that nobody cared about, and then took the comic book franchise, Walking Dead, and blew it up and changed what that genre meant.
And to be clear, I don't think we ever clarified this, but are we talking about season 1 specifically?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
Only season 1, yeah.
Only season 1.
That's all we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick Walking Dead and put it to the chat to let them be the deciding vote here between The Walking Dead and Rocket League.
Fair
the
enough.
poll is up right now, ladies and gentlemen, and you get to go through.
Can I say our top whatever we're at is incredible.
Looking pretty good.
It's looking awesome, honestly. Like the fact that it was what Celeste, Moss, Gone Home, Beat Saber, Walking Dead, Rocket League, Hades, Inside, Chicory, Undertale, Fall Guys, The Witness. That's a banger lineup.
Yeah.
That's quality
Agreed.
right there.
Agreed.
I'm sorry, Hollow Knight fans. I tried my best.
I wouldn't try that
hard. Listen, take your complaints
It's like,
and
who's
tweet
gonna
them.
go back and check? No. Well,
At Sadboy Barrett is the account to tweet if you're mad about Hollow Knight not making it that far. All right, I hear you.
In the chat, Rocket League has stormed ahead with 64% of the vote, and it looks like that's pretty definitive. I'm not worried about anything happening. So yeah, Rocket League advances to the Elite Eight to fight either Hades or Inside.
Whoa.
It's Hades, right?
10 versus
Hades
10.
versus, was it Hades versus Inside?
Yeah.
Hades versus Inside.
Inside.
Hades or Inside? Inside, really?
Yeah, 100%. It's
Why
like
would you put
a
this on me?
masterpiece. It's a masterpiece of a game. Not that
Hades
Hades
isn't?
Not that Hades isn't, but like I feel like Inside fires on all layers to create such a unique story, executed with such style. I mean, there's a feeling of mystery, dread, and a willingness to engage with the grotesque that Inside does so masterfully. I think the sound design there is probably some of the best sound design I've ever experienced in a game.
Yeah.
And while it also having like some really cool puzzles throughout, I think packaged as an experience, Inside is just a freaking dream. Hades also has fantastic gameplay and has really cool stuff with characters, and I think it rocks its genre super well. And I also love what they did with difficulty also. So shout out to, again, what if I told you your game could be known for its difficulty without being fucking unplayable to a good chunk of the audience? What if I told you that could happen? And then Hades did that, and I think that's super cool. But as far as which game is better, I think Inside's better. I think Inside's better than most games, honestly. So
I love this. I love that we have like such diverse taste here, and like also like these are the two games that like get to struggle up against each other, because like I'm right there with both of you that like these are two fucking masterpieces, and I'm oh man, I don't like that I'm like the tiebreaker here, because Inside, I think, again, I've said it before, it is a perfect video game. The atmosphere is there. The sound, a good thing to point out, the sound design. The sound design is incredible. We talked before about the animation and like when you get all those arms, you're passing the box around and doing all that stuff, right? It is an impeccably designed video game. And then Hades is like on the opposite end of the kind of video game it is, right? It is systems focused. It is action based. It is story with dialogue and characters and art that is fantastic. If you want to talk about presentation, Hades is such a good looking game, especially when you're talking about the art and the character design and all that stuff. And then when you talk about music, right? Like Darren Korb is all the way in his bag, putting together hits, right? Absolutely composing his ass off. The game, I mean, the roguelite systems are so good in it, and it's also accessible, or it's accessible, but also approachable, right? In terms of a roguelite, which I would say Inside for puzzles as well is approachable. Fuck, man. I think
the chat's leaning on Hades. Don't go with just y'all trying to have a fun time. I'm trying to like fucking get my mind bent in half, okay? And Inside does that shit.
I'm trying to like find nitpicks for either, and I can't find any.
It's not as fun. Like Hades is like, oh, it's fun, it's exciting, it's cool. It has like the mythos stuff. People are hot. There's a dog. I get
do like
it.
the mythos stuff.
Don't let yourselves. It's more fireworks, and inside is like fucking brooding and dark as shit. But like it's so fucking good. And that freaking mermaid, are you kidding me?
I'm learning that Jaina is a dark person right now.
Oh yeah, like people are like, oh, you know, Last of Us 2, it's too sad, I can't handle. I'm like, oh no, tear my fucking heart out. Let's go. I was a fucking English major. Are you joking? This is where I
think Hades is such a great game. I think Inside's a great game too. I would put it Hades. I'm surprised we're having this conversation, which I love that we're having it. I just thought Hades for sure would walk over Inside. But in the chats right now, 77 or 74% Hades too, just to give the shout out to what's happening live on Patreon.
The chat can take it then, I guess. But I think Inside, like to me, Inside is like so clearly like.
Well, it's still blessings to pick. It's just he's heard the arguments. He's argued with himself. Like I haven't even had to get off the bench really because he knows that Hades is fantastic. He knows that Inside's fantastic.
I just want to say, Blessing, like Inside is a great one-time experience. Hades is a forever game. You know what I mean? Like you can jump into Hades.
You're talking to somebody who's beaten Inside maybe 3 or 4 times.
Okay, never mind then.
I love replaying.
Which one gave you more game hangover? You know, you're rolling credits on Hades. Maybe you're just going back at it like a bad habit. Inside, you were fucking different when you came out the other side of that shit. You know, like.
Shannon's making really good arguments.
People
but also
reviewing Inside like I can't even review this game because you need to just do it. It's so special. It's such a moment.
You're making good arguments, but I can't bring myself to pull the trigger on Hades because like Hades is still Hades, right?
It's
like
Hades.
It's like it has the presentation, it has the characters, it has the writing, it has like all of its elements. It does everything so supremely. Like I think I've only ever had one complaint with Hades, and that's that at some points the combat felt a little bit like button mashy to me in ways that like I'm kind of on autopilot with a lot of the fucking matching of abilities. That's really my only complaint with Hades. I think everything else it does pretty much perfectly.
They're 2 games with like pretty much no notes.
And like they had pretty much no notes for either of these games. And I think they've had similar impact on me. Where like Inside I finished and I was like, fuck man. Like that shit hit, right? Hades, I had the same thing where like I played a lot more as Hades because Hades is obviously a longer game. And throughout the entire experience, I felt like I was like it felt like going through an experience, right? I felt like I was going through something while playing that game. Is that
Blessing? Make a choice.
I'm going Hades.
Yeah, man.
Good choice.
All right.
Good choice.
Hades has moved on to the Elite 8 to fight Rocket League. Rocket League versus Hades. Who's going to the Final Four?
Hades.
Okay, cool. Just make sure we're on the same page. I don't want to get crazy here. Ladies and gentlemen, your Final Four for PlayStation's Best Indie Darling presented by PS I Love You XOXO is Celeste versus Gone Home, Hades versus Undertale. We will start with Celeste versus Gone Home.
Celeste.
I would vote Celeste too, I think, here. When you want to talk about gameplay, story, indie darlingness wrapped up in one, Gone Home, Cinderella run has to end somewhere. It made it farther than I thought it would, as you know, your fanboy here for Gone Home. But yeah, we're gonna send Celeste there to the finals. So then, will Celeste face Hades or Undertale?
Hades.
I assume Greg's gonna go Hades.
Yes. However, if you're gonna say Undertale, I would forfeit my vote and put it in the chat as somebody who never completed Undertale.
Mm-hmm. I would say Undertale.
All right, then we're going to the chat, ladies and gentlemen, for you to decide if it's going to be Hades
for the chat to pick Undertale. The
chat's going to pick Hades. I think Hades is the popular vote to win this.
I think Hades will. I would say chat's going to pick Hades as well, but we will find out right now. Hades versus Undertale. The poll is up to decide who will advance here. Hades versus Undertale.
I'm actually very curious.
Undertale had way more memes, so I'm thinking it's going to go Undertale.
Oh, there are hella memes at Hades with all the thirsty characters.
Hades jumps out to an early lead, 68% of the vote to 32.
Yeah,
as Hades jumped ahead, Barrett put in the thing, all caps, "Don't fuck me, chat." And I think you're getting fucked, Barrett.
Yep.
66% of the vote is with Hades right now.
Yeah, Hades has I think Hades has wider appeal than Undertale.
Yeah.
Like Undertale hits hard for its audience, and that audience is sizable, right? Like I'm in that audience. But like Hades took everybody's hearts, right? Like it's rare to find somebody that's like, oh, I didn't like Hades.
Hades didn't work for me. Yeah,
everybody fucked with Hades.
Oh no, Janet says as Barrett Courtney enters the Discord call. Hello, Barrett, how are you?
Chat, don't fuck me. Chat, stop it.
Barrett, I feel
why would you go against one of the most
10-second warning.
This is one of the most well-written, not just indie darlings of all time, one of the best well-written video games when it comes to characters, what the themes and how all those characters come together for the end of the game.
2, 1.
God.
Hades advances to the finals with 61% of the vote.
Chat, you're dead to me.
Oh,
you're dead to me.
They changed it as I clicked it.
None of you are my best friends. Fucking
Damn. Barrett took it there.
Ladies and gentlemen, your final matchup is Celeste versus Hades.
Celeste.
Let's fucking go. This is a fight right here.
It's Celeste.
I hate it.
Shayna says
Do you guys have
Celeste.
any other? I can
Greg, what
expound
do
if
you
needed,
say?
but it's Celeste.
I would say Celeste.
And I think I would also say Celeste.
Yeah, man.
Ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen, with your universal pick, Celeste is the champion.
I
Celeste
can't believe it was
is the
that easy.
PlayStation
Yeah.
indie darling. Well, so let's
It's
talk
like-
about why that happened that way.
It does everything. It does everything. You know, it has
It only does
story,
everything.
it has gameplay, it has music, and it has fantastic level design. And oh my god, that Pico 8 stuff too. That's like the game inside the game. And it has like great approachability, and it's how it lets you not just change the difficulty, but really fine tune it to exactly what you want it to be. It touches on themes that I think are, you know, very important with like mental health and like insecurities and anxiety. You can argue that it's, you know, not the most groundbreaking statements on those things, but I think the way that it exemplifies them through the storytelling and the gameplay is really nice. The feather thing, again, that's been done kind of a lot since then, but it like when you were in those moments, like it really did hit. And I think in some ways, the way it went was somewhat surprising, right? It's this idea of fighting inner demons. And you do that figuratively and literally through the embodiment of Battleline. But then you kind of, I think, light spoilers for Celeste, or spoilers for Celeste, right? The coming together of those two characters in a way that I think is so beautiful if you've ever struggled with either dark moments in your life or you generally have like mental health stuff that you fight against. The idea of like, oh man, I'm getting emotional talking about, of not disregarding or throwing away the bad parts and the dark parts of you, but realizing that what it really takes to overcome that is to find a way to find acceptance with the dark parts of yourself. And then even if you don't give a shit about that, it's a fucking good platformer. Yeah. And I think that's what's cool too. Like I love that. And that's kind of like, you know, not to throw back to the Undertale shade, but that's kind of my beef with Undertale. Like it feels like you have to engage with it in a specific way to enjoy it.
Okay.
But that's what I like. But that's what I like about Celeste, that you don't need to have, you could like it for the all of it or just for some parts of it. And no matter what slice you want to take, there's so much to enjoy. It is a buffet where the food's all actually good, which doesn't really happen. And yeah, Celeste is fucking fire.
I feel like
shout out to Celeste.
I think oftentimes when it comes to games that we put up there as like 10 out of 10 games or masterpieces or indie darlings or whatever, it is often a conversation of, oh, this game was groundbreaking, or this game was perfectly designed, right? Or this game has no notes, right? Like this game, like Celeste somehow I think does all of it, where I do think it is a groundbreaking game, right? For all the reasons I mentioned earlier in the episode of, how often do you get 2D platformers with a story and then also a story this good and this deep that then interlinks together with the gameplay? How often, like, this is a game that introduced, again, an assist mode that the industry adopted, right? And like we still talk about that assist mode to this day, and that did so much for so many people.
Sure.
But then you talk about just the quality of the video game, and it is like the platforming in that game is perfect, and it takes it to the level of, right, like we mentioned, right, it's approachable for the Greg Millers of the world, who's like, oh yeah, one screen, I can push through that, right? Like I can do that,
or I can fail at this over and over again and not feel like I'm screwing up everything.
It's like Super Meat Boy if there was heart inside of it. No offense, Super Meat Boy, I love you,
also,
but like ain't nothing going on with that story.
It also takes it to the level of, cool, now let's do the fucking ultra Mario Kaizo shit, where it is you are figuring out, like, press X on this frame of this dash to jump further or whatever, and it teaches you that stuff, right? It holds it holds your hand through that stuff, and that stuff that's all extra, right? You don't need to interact with that stuff, but it gives you the option, and it creates levels around that, and it has like the B-side levels that take the regular levels and remixes them, but also remixes the soundtrack. Like, it does so much.
There's so much. It does everything perfectly. Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there. Blessing, you also so easily went against Hades, picking Celeste over it. Would you have done the same if Undertale had made it to the final two?
After talking through it, I think so. And that's weird because I never thought like Undertale's always been my favorite indie game and one of my favorite games of all time. After talking through Celeste, like Celeste might be up there. I never thought about Celeste being one of my favorite games, but I might have learned something about myself today.
Wow.
That disappoints
And that's
me
what
most.
happens on PS I Love You XOXO, ladies and gentlemen. We learn something about each other. If you've enjoyed this episode, head over to patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, where, of course, you can write in to be part of future episodes. You could be voting in future polls, and you can get the exclusive post show we're about to do. At least me and Janet, because Blessing's got to go to the airport.
Yeah.
However, if you have no bucks tossed our way each and every Friday, youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames, roosterteeth.com, and podcast services around the globe for a brand spanking new episode. Congratulations to Celeste, of course, for becoming PlayStation's best indie darling, according to PS I Love You XOXO. But in the comments below on YouTube, what do you think is the best indie of all time? Let us know. And if you're in your car, just roll down the window and shout it out. Janet will hear you eventually. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, it's been our pleasure to serve you.